All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up there. I hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday afternoon now. Garrett, what is going on? Lady Gamer, Robert, Tarnished, welcome. Welcome. I have a couple of super chats from New Soul 9, which I will read in a moment. Mr. B says Ghost of Yote has been a treat so far. Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing it. I think I have about 8 or 9 hours so far put into it. Been getting very distracted by the side stuff. Basically made like no progress on the story, but we'll talk more about Ghost of Yote. I was originally going to talk about Ghost of Yote today, but we have some pretty significant, I guess you could say, like breaking news or like a breaking report regarding Microsoft, regarding Xbox, something that, I mean, in my opinion, is very significant. That if it turns out to be true, um, my greatest fears for what Microsoft could turn Xbox into are seemingly being realized. And I say that, I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but I do mean that. Um, we're looking at like the worst case scenario, seemingly, that's potentially getting ready to play out in front of us. So we're going to be talking a lot. Like that may be the entirety of today's discussion. I'm not sure yet. There's a bunch of information that has come out. We just recently covered the Game Pass price increases. I thought that that was kind of going to be it for a while, but no, that's actually. It seems like that's just the beginning. That's just scratching the surface. So, um, you're saying Tom Warren put you on blast. Clap back at that bitch. Well, to be fair, are you wearing my underwear? I seemingly was misinformed with who this individual was, Judson, supposedly. What's funny is I'm far from the only one who talked about it, though. But it's fine. We don't have clarification. We don't have confirmation, I should say, on if this person actually now has anything to do with Xbox. As of right now, and I did look into it afterwards, this person is involved with Microsoft Commercial. So as of right now, they seemingly don't have anything to do with Xbox. But if it turns out that, something changed behind the scenes and we're just not aware of it yet, that'll certainly be interesting. But yeah, I didn't want to keep that out there. Um, but yeah, according to Tom Warren, I'm making up rumors. That rumor did stem from Tim Dog, though, which I don't even really follow. I don't follow Tim Dog, but he's been putting a lot of stuff out, and I don't know. I don't know if what he's saying is true or not, but that's not the source that we're going to be referring to in today's stream. The source that we're going to be referring to is somebody who has not been wrong. Somebody who actually I suspected we were going to hear from. Yes, Michael, that's where the one specific rumor we're talking about right now, it's not even, I would say, fully relevant to the greater conversation we're going to have. But there was this one specific rumor that started to make the rounds that Judson, I forget his last name, but Judson, basically, at Microsoft, who's a high ranking executive, there was this rumor claiming that this was the person who is now in charge of making decisions for Xbox and decided to pull the plug on Xbox. But apparently that's not true. Apparently that person has nothing to do with Xbox. So there's a lot of stuff coming out right now. We're going to do our best to separate it all. But the main source and the main focal point of who you want to listen to, I would say, is Sneakers SO. Because, again, I don't know who this person is, but they know what's going on. Like, I'm convinced that this is a high-ranking member of the Microsoft board or something, because I don't know how this person knows what they know. But yeah, we're going to be covering that. It's Phil Spencer. We have 2 super chats from New Soul 9. He says, MBG, Really quick, I want to say that the cloud thing doesn't surprise me because we already had a conversation of offering Game Pass for free with ads and sponsored ships, um, or sponsorships is what you meant to say, and saying, but seeing the claim of the cancellation of the hardware is hard for me to believe because they would be selling at a pure profit for every unit sold. Yeah, we're going to talk all about that new Soul and the whole thing about Xbox going fully cloud. The difference between that and the ad based free version of Game Pass or xCloud, the difference here is that it seems like this may be a full blown transition. Like we are done with hardware, we are done with consoles, we are now basically going to be Google Stadia. And to me, that's kind of the shocking part. Um, hold on one sec. Hold on one sec, guys. I gotta let Luna out. Hold on. Xbox is going fourth party publisher. And we have are you wearing my underwear? Saying Sony shareholders are licking their lips. They can charge $800 to $1,000 for the PS6 and eat no costs with no other option apart from the lower spec Switch 2. PlayStation equals money. Well, that is one of the major concerns. And this is something we are going to be discussing extensively today is if these reports are true, what does it mean for PlayStation? And that's honestly my biggest concern. I have been done with Xbox for a long time, dude. I've been done with Xbox for a long time. You guys know that. But, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Yeah, there is that obvious concern that if Microsoft exits the hardware space like completely, that's one less player. That's less competition. And less competition is not good. It's not a good thing. Traditionally, it hasn't been a good thing, and it rarely ever is. And we have Nick with a super chat saying gaming gets better with no Xbox console. I'll die on that hill. It goes completely against what I just said. I don't know, man. I have to disagree with that, Nick. I got to be honest. I don't want to see the Xbox console eliminated. Something that, not to get like defensive of myself here, but you know, a lot of people across social media have tried to paint me in a certain light and convince people that this is how I am and this is what I want, while leaving a lot out. But anybody who's been following me for an extensive period of time, or even just a moderate amount of time, you know that I've actually been pushing in the opposite direction. Everything that Microsoft is seemingly getting ready to do, I have pushed against it to the T. Okay, I have advocated for the literal opposite. Sneakers SO is the OG biggest 100% reliable Xbox insider. Whenever he comes around, he drops the juicy reports and inside info, and everything about them 100% true. He leaked the full Xbone specs back in 2012. Yeah, I don't know who this person is, man. They're no joke. I don't know who they are. They're a mystery. We have Patrick here with a $5 chat saying, if this is true, I really hope Sony and PlayStation do not take this as we can jack up price points. Yeah, the longer term implications and ramifications of this is something that definitely needs to be speculated upon. Michael Lynch says that is not something Sony does to their consumers. They have shown plenty of times that they are willing to eat the cost to make things cheaper. They have in the past, Michael. I think the concern now is with new leadership at Sony. Here's what I'll say, Michael. The one thing that people leave out of the conversation when we talk about, like when we're talking about the idea of Microsoft completely exiting and being completely gone, right? And they're just not they're not a competitor whatsoever to Sony. People tend to forget that Sony still cares about reaching the mass market. that is important to understand because while Sony obviously wants more money, they are corporate, they want more money, they want more growth, they also need to reach a mass market. That's been what has led to the success of the PlayStation brand for its entire existence. It would make zero business sense for them to say, well, we don't have to worry about Microsoft anymore. They did this already, by the way, one time at the beginning with the PlayStation 3, and they found out very quickly that it's a very stupid business decision. Nobody can touch us, so we can still reach the mass market because we're the only one that can offer this. So we're just going to jack up the price and go crazy. And they already did that. They literally already did that. They already walked that path, and they found out very quickly that that's not going to work. Um, I think Sony is aware at this point that if you want to reach a mass market with your hardware, with your ecosystem, you can't price people out too egregiously. You have to be mindful of that. Um, but yeah, guys, I'm gonna actually go over some of these reports with you. Okay. And before we do that, I want to just thank you guys for tuning in. If you could do me a quick favor, if you haven't already, hit that like button. We're sitting at 60 likes. We could easily get that to 100. It helps the streams tremendously. If you want to support the channel, we're completely fan funded here. I can only do what I do here on the channel because you guys make it possible. Consider becoming a channel member. We just did a morning with the misses on Friday, and you guys seem to really thoroughly enjoy that. We had a good time. It's like 2.5 hours long. So if you're a channel member, go check that out. Consider becoming one. We're considered gifting memberships. And if you do get gifted a membership, go check out some of the members' content, and we'll have more coming up. But consider dropping a super chat, a direct donation. I just have to put the stuff out here so people are aware that this is how you can support the channel and allow me to continue to do what I do here. So a big shout out and thank you to everybody who makes it possible. And yeah, make sure you hit that like button. So this originally came from, hold on, you see. Yeah, so if we go to the NeoGAF forums, which is not the most popular place anymore, but this is where Sneakers SO dwells. They dwell in the NeoGAF forums. And just for some context here, for some more recent context, um, this person, Sneakers SO, back in December of 2023, they were the first person, well before anybody had any idea, they were the first person to come out and inform everybody that Microsoft is getting ready to go multi-platform. They're going to be announcing games going to PlayStation, and it's a major shift, and it's due to the ABK purchase, and they were putting this stuff out there and telegraphing their trajectory. Again, months before it was actually announced, and people were paying attention, but people were not sure of like, well, this is just one source. How do we know we can believe them? They were 100% correct about every single thing they said, and they were just out here letting us know well ahead of time. They've been doing this apparently sporadically for like well over a decade, apparently. But I'm just giving you this context so you know that this is not just some no name, made up, random source. This is the real deal. Like, there are many other sources that we could get this information from that I would be like, I don't know about that. This is one source that we are getting this information from. I'm like, that's going to happen. This, because this person doesn't miss, and this person rarely comes out and gives information like this. So just keep that in mind when we go over what we're about to go over. And are you wearing my underwear with a super chat says, with no other way to play high-end console games, Sony won't need to worry about appealing to the mass market. They'll have no option but to come to PlayStation. It's possible. It's possible. I don't want to rule that out entirely. I'm going to be hopeful that Sony won't go in that direction. I'm going to be hopeful that, if this does happen, because I do think this is, again, the worst case scenario. What we're about to go over is the absolute worst effing outcome that we could have imagined for Microsoft and for Microsoft in gaming. If this does come to pass, I mean, yeah, dude, I am a little bit worried about what Sony would do with this. My hope is that they will stay moderate and understand that, don't go crazy. Don't go power crazy, because at that point, our only hope would have to be somebody else taking Microsoft's place. And I'll be honest, I don't see that in the cards. I don't see that in the cards. I don't see that happening. But yeah, it's absolutely something we have to be mindful of. No doubt about it. And we have Virtual Man with a generous $20 super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, if Xbox leaves the competition, Sony has pretty much no rival, therefore, no real reason to improve. We all know how egotistical they got during the PS3 era, and they could easily slip back to that if we don't keep them in line. Well, yeah, this is why, it's I've always told people like no matter how much you're enjoying what PlayStation is doing, no matter how much you're enjoying what Sony is doing, and this applies to all these companies, not just Sony exclusively, no matter how much of a fan you are and how much you are enjoying it, you always have to be ready at any moment to let them know. And, it's one thing to let them know on the internet with posts and videos and stuff like this and reactions, but also with your wallet. That's the most important thing. I've tried to let people know this entire generation that for as much complaining as there has been, as much complaining as there's been, Sony's still breaking records. And so, if you wonder why they're kind of ignoring some of the negative backlash they're getting, that's why, because they're still doing very well. So we have to do our part, to maintain that balance. And yeah, I mean, at the rate things are going, man, I'm not trying to doom and gloom it because I don't think that's necessary. But what I could see ultimately happening is the PS5 is going to be relevant for a very long time, and the PS5 may end up being the like entry level console, like in gaming, outside of the Switch too. Not just for PlayStation. I just mean like once the Xbox Series consoles, the Series consoles are going away. And what we're about to cover seems to imply that they're not going to be replaced with anything from Xbox. So if that happens, it seems that the PS5 itself is going to be the entry level console. And we've already talked extensively about the PlayStation 6. We're expecting the PlayStation 6 to be an expensive device. We know that they have the PlayStation 6 handheld that they're making, which may be a cheaper device, but still expensive in the context of a handheld. So, yeah, I mean, it's the domino effect, right? We have to be aware of the domino effect where if Microsoft, dominoes have already fallen over, and this might be the last one, where it's like this is, I think what you're gonna see with this reaction, right? You're gonna see with this reaction or the overall reaction, if this does turn out to be true, and you're already seeing some of it now, is that people don't actually want Xbox to literally die, right? um, People seem to be relatively aware of the negative impact of less competition. Um, but what makes this conversation so hard is this is why I fought as hard as I did back in 2023 when Microsoft announced their intent to acquire Activision Blizzard King. Me and many others fought so hard because we had a very strong hunch that this is not going to go the way people think it is. You see Microsoft coming out here crawling on their hands and knees, trying to appeal to the FTC, the CMA, and every other regulatory body, making it seem like we're weak, we're frail, we're on our last leg here. We're at the bottom, and we're about to get snuffed out. We need this to compete. And there's that famous quote from Satya Nadella where he says, "Let us compete. Let us compete." And I was trying to warn people that, like, that's not what this is about. Microsoft is more than capable of competing right now without the ownership of Activision Blizzard King. This is a much bigger play. They just bought Bethesda. You have internal Xbox studios, you have Bethesda studios. That is more than enough to viably compete against PlayStation and Nintendo and any other publisher for that matter. And many of us were pushing back against this and we were like, I was practically yelling at people like, don't fall for their bullshit, guys. Okay? Because this is not a play to compete and bring the heat to Sony. This is the opposite of that. And here we are, practically 2 years later. And again, if this report turns out to be true, which we're going to go over soon as more people are filing in, um, this This is literally, guys, I'm not exaggerating. This is the worst possible outcome. Even for the most diehard Xbox fan, this is the worst possible outcome that anybody could have asked for. And I just want the record to show, man, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if this slips in a couple times throughout the stream. I can't help it. I just want the record to show that when I was like going not nuclear, but I was being super critical of Microsoft and of the Xbox brand back in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. This is what it hinged on. I was trying to tell people, like, we need to demand from Microsoft that they do a better job competitively. Double, triple, quadruple down on your own hardware, your own ecosystem, exclusives, double down on the talent, figure out a way to create games that are actually going to compete with the titles that Sony is putting out, that even other third-party publishers are putting out. Titles that are going to entice people to bring people over to your console. You did it before with the Xbox 360 generation. Now it's starting to look like you guys just got lucky, and skill had nothing to do with it. Talent had nothing to do with it. That's what I was advocating for this entire time. In fact, one of the biggest reasons I moved away from Xbox. Oh, hold on. Moonshot, I'm going to read that again because that didn't play. I only heard that on my end. I was trying to tell people, like, guys, one of the reasons I'm leaving Xbox and I'm done is because they are going all in with Game Pass and putting games on PC. And it's like these things inherently are not problematic. What's problematic is Microsoft is signaling and posturing and making it very clear that this is their future. I'm like, wrong. Your future should be the console. Your future should be those AAA games that you're making for your own console, for your own fans. That's what you should be doing, not this Crackdown 3 bullshit. And this is why I also didn't give a shit when they said, well, we just bought Bethesda. Isn't that exciting? No. Sure, maybe if you're actually going to go in that direction, this gives you some type of competitive edge now. But no, because it just proves that you can't do it. You couldn't figure it out. You had to resort to buying whole fucking publishers. This is why it has been frustrating to see people drag me through the mud and drag my community, my audience here through the mud constantly, because this is what we've been advocating for. No, we're not behind the Xbox ROG Ally X. No, we're not behind this whole massive Game Pass push, because all this really is about a lack of ownership and trying to become the quote-unquote Netflix of gaming. We're not behind any of this. We're behind what Xbox was originally, a fucking home console with great exclusives. That's what we were pushing for this entire time. That's what made Nintendo successful. That's what made Sony successful. And in Xbox's heyday, that's what made them successful. But now you got people out here clowning on freaking Mike Ybarra. Like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He was there running some of the Xbox shit. But that's fine, man. It's like what we're about to go over. It's the reality check. It's the reality check that's coming for a lot of people. If it turns out, it is a report, but if even half of this turns out to be true, it is the harshest reality check that a lot of people are finally waking up to. And rant. Are you wearing my underwear? Says Valve got so comfortable with the easy money from Steam and no PC competition, they quit making games. They churn out one every like 10 to 15 years now. That's true, but there is one major difference that we need to keep in mind, underwear. Sony is a publicly traded company. Valve is a private company. So when Valve says we don't care to make games anymore because we don't have to, that's that. They're privately owned. They can do what they want. There's no pressure, except maybe from the fans, if the fans are saying we want more games. But there's no pressure from shareholders. Sony could not do that. Like, they could, but it would be, I mean, God, it would be devastating to their market share or just their market value. Sony has immense pressure from shareholders to continue to perform at a high level when it comes to game publishing. So I don't think you have to worry so much about that. Because keep in mind, Ghost of Yotei, which just launched, great reviews, going to sell well. Even Astrobot last year. Microsoft wasn't putting anything out. You know, not anything that you could see Sony being like, we got to compete with that. You know what I'm saying? Sony's doing that for their own platform for the sake of it. Although you could maybe argue Astrobot as a competitor against what Nintendo's doing. Chad A, member for 20 months, says, it's true Xbox was lucky with the 360 with a 1-year head start on PS3. I've been saying this for years. They were coasting thinking Live was their ace in the sleeve. Yeah, I mean, I still have very, very fond memories of the 360 era. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Microsoft. It's not so much because, I mean, you got to give the credit where the credit is due, right? Yeah, Mr. B, we're going to cover that too. It's just that when you see the bigger picture now, it really just kind of feels like, man, I think that they got kind of lucky that Sony screwed up the way they did, and the pieces kind of fell into place for them with the beginning, like the first 3 or 4 years of that console. Because the greatest irony is that the PS3 still outsold the 360 in the end. I've been saying for a long time, man, Microsoft just can't figure it out. And Microsoft is a multi-trillion-dollar company. Microsoft dwarfs every other video game company in just terms of overall value and how prevalent they are on a global scale as a corporation. If they don't get out of gaming, then that means they're going to change gaming. And when they decide they want to change gaming, when you're dealing with a corporation this big, you got to really question, what does that look like? If they can't win by the rules that have already been established, how are they going to try to change the rules? And too many people were like, oh, Game Pass, best deal in gaming, so on and so forth. All this stuff. And I tried to warn them, do not fall for the marketing bullshit. Don't listen to people who are being invited to events to hang out and be buddy-buddy with these executives. Don't listen to them. They don't care. They don't know, and they don't care. They're going to be on board with anything Microsoft does. It's frustrating because I've been trying to tell people, it's not just me, it's many of you guys, a lot of people out there. We've been trying to say, look, we're not telling you to hate Xbox. We're just telling you not to fall for the BS, because once the mask comes off, you're going to see it for what it really is. And when you see it, you're going to realize it's pretty ugly. And if we could just get there now, you won't be caught off guard. You won't be surprised. We have, appreciate all the super chats, guys. Thank you. Are you wearing my underwear again? Saying pretty soon you won't have to talk about Microsoft or Xbox. Yeah, well, I mean, geez. You know what? I got to be honest, man. Like, you're gonna be hearing Google Stadia brought up a couple times on the stream. If this is where Microsoft is going with Xbox, dude, oh my God. Yeah, it's over for me too. And Hellbound 1981, the legend, he comes in and he kicks it off today by dropping 5 membership gifts for you guys. Hellbound, thank you for that, buddy.
Appreciate it.
I do appreciate the member gifts. I'll add that to the goal. Well, I mean, the reality, I think, if what we're going to go, I know I keep saying we're going to go over it, and we will. It'll just take a little bit of time. People want to say their piece, you know. If what we're going to cover turns out to be, like, if this is what happens, if this is how it goes down, Microsoft, like the Xbox brand, it should be made clear, the Xbox brand will still be relevant and will still be part of the conversation. It'll just be from a completely non-competitive standpoint, which means essentially when you talk about third-party publishers such as Take-Two Interactive or Capcom or Sega on PlayStation, Xbox is now there. Some people have already viewed it that way, but this is taking it to the end game stage, I guess you could say. What will be more significant in the future, Sega's collapse or Xbox's? I think Xbox's, simply for the fact that Microsoft is not done. The collapse while the collapse is happening, there's a building of something else, and it's the building of that something else. You're not just going to see like Microsoft is not going to give up on the platform side. They're going all cloud, dude, seemingly, and that's oh man, I guess it's not too shocking, but man, that's oh yeah, we'll talk about that. Stephen Leon. Stephen Family Leon, bro. Member for 24 months. He says, bro, this was in the works all this time. Seems that after the Xbox One gen, it was over. No Game Pass day and date. All were fall. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people still go back, and I do too. You know, we referenced the Xbox One launch and how it's just like, I don't think they could have fumbled it any worse than they did. They did irreparable damage that day. Um, you could trace it back to that. You know, there's an argument to be made. Like, there is absolutely an argument to be made. I mean, it's woulda, coulda, shoulda at this point. But if Microsoft, when they launched or revealed the Xbox One, if it was just on par with the PS4 to games console, we got games, and we want you to play games, and they didn't do the whole DRM thing, and they didn't try to push that, and the Kinect wasn't a part of it. There's an argument to be made that the Xbox One would have went toe to toe with the PS4, absolutely. And this isn't even an argument. That would have been the better outcome. It would have been a more exciting generation in general if Microsoft and Sony were going toe to toe the whole time. And then that would have bled over into this generation, but they just couldn't recover, man. Look, I know a lot of people are going to like blame Phil Spencer and whatnot. I do think Phil Spencer deserves blame, absolutely. But I think Phil Spencer was in over his head, man. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not making excuses for the guy, but I just think that like he inherited a problem that he was going to need a lot more than just confidence. You know what I mean? To overcome. But it is water under the bridge, I suppose. And Michael Lynch, you're saying Sony will go downhill if Xbox isn't there to challenge is preposterous. Sony knows what gets them the sales. Great games. Well, yeah, Michael, that's the thing with this conversation. You're going to see people again. It's like the kind of whataboutism. Like, well, what about Sony? Well, what about Sony? And I cover PlayStation here. Obviously, I'm a PlayStation channel, so I very much am going to be considering the what about Sony. But I think for now, what really needs to be focused on is let's just acknowledge what's happening with Xbox first and see how this is going to play out. Because if you want to know what about, well, I'll tell you what about Sony. Sony has two different PS5 consoles you can choose from, one of which is still priced at $500 if you're okay going digital. All right. They have a Pro console. They have PlayStation Plus. They're, you can argue whether or not it's a good value or not for PlayStation Plus. They're dropping games. They're getting massive third-party support. They're going to have GTA 6 next year. Like, they just did a state of play where they showed more games that people were like, holy shit, this looks awesome. So when it comes to the what about Sony, the what about Sony is they've got their bases covered, bro. You know? And if the only what about Sony that's left is, well, how do we know they're not going to do this or that? How do we know anything? I don't know what Sony's going to do next year or the year after. I don't know. All I know is that they've kind of had a pattern that they've stuck to for this generation, and not everybody's on board with it, but, they're still going strong, dude. They're still going strong. And we have a Zealot coming in, becoming a renewing their membership, actually. Zealot, thank you so much for that, buddy.
Appreciate it.
And then Corey, the Legend Landiga, comes in, and he drops another 5 membership gifts for you guys. So just like that, we are now at 11 members. And guys, yeah, if we hit 25, if we hit the first goal, we'll feed the cats some treats. I'm sure they'll be excited for that. But thank you, Corey and Zealot. And the Genius 200X with the $10 chat says Microsoft was trying to play the game of chicken with Sony in hopes the latter would follow suit and bankrupt themselves, only for Microsoft to run off the road as Sony did not move. Never forget those emails. Exactly. That's the first thing I thought of. Genius, when I started reading your super chat, is like it's interesting to me how people just kind of completely overlook those emails. I'm not saying people should be holding on to it every day, but those emails are worth not forgetting during these conversations, you know? Because yeah, they were kind of crazy. And I'm going to replay this as well. Moonshot sent this to me. Hold on.
It was about buying up most of the industry to ensure they get a cut of everything no matter how much PPL hate the brand. An anti-competitive play.
Well, yeah, Moonshot, that's the thing, dude. One of the arguments that was constantly made by the fan base as well as Microsoft themselves is we need more content for Game Pass. We need to feed the beast that is Game Pass. And you know, people were trying to point out like, dude, maybe it's become clear that the subscription model is not the future of gaming, at least not yet, not anytime soon. And your attempt to kind of uproot the industry aggressively and disrupt it aggressively and try to manhandle it, so to speak, through the brute force of we're a $3.8 trillion company, we can outspend you. I tried to tell people, like, just put two and two together. Does that sound like a recipe for success? And even if it does sound like a recipe for success from a business perspective, does it sound good for you ultimately? Is that the company that you want to be in the number one spot? I don't know, man. I tried telling him. I tried telling him. And look, this isn't a victory lap by any means. To be clear, it's just you are seeing people now realize the simple fact of the matter. The simple, undeniable fact of the matter is Microsoft's intentions are not nearly as pure as many of these individuals who follow them, even if it was off a bridge, will tell you, oh yeah, it's all good, man. They trust me. They want to give you the best deal in gaming. They want to save you money, and they want to do this. And trust me. Let me tell you, them spending $68 billion to acquire ABK is a good thing for us. It's a good thing for you. It's a good thing for me. It's a good thing for the entire industry. Why? Because Microsoft is good for the industry. Microsoft knows what's best. Don't you know? All that we're really trying to communicate here is that the reality is coming. It is here, and it's still on its way. And the reality is that Microsoft is no different than any other corporation, but they are like I said, a much bigger corporation. All you really need to do is ask yourself one simple question, and that is, how do you think a $3.8 trillion corporation becomes a $3.8 trillion corporation? If you can answer that question, you'll be fine. If you don't know how to answer that question, well, I don't know how to help you because I've tried. I've tried answering it for us. Anyway, so I'm going to keep getting derailed there. And Michael Lynch, you're saying besides Xbox hasn't been true competition to PlayStation in almost a decade. That's true as well. That's true too. You could argue the last year and a half, right? There's been like hardly any, like pretty much none. Very minimal, very, very, very minimal. And it's weird because to be honest, I feel like it's a portion of the Xbox fan base that has been trying to convince themselves and convince others that, yeah, no, we're still in the fight. We're still like, there's still competition. But in reality, it's like, you see something like Forza Horizon 6 get announced, and I'm seeing some Xbox players be like, oh, it's going to be a timed Xbox exclusive. It's like they literally announced it for PS5, dude. Like it's pretty obvious that the only reason it's not launching day one on PS5 is because it's not going to be ready. They moved their own studio, Turn 10 Studios, to port this game to PS5. That studio used to work on Forza Motorsport exclusively for Xbox, dude. Like, I understand that there's a level of copium or hopium or whatever, but this is just like we got to wake up. And all these people that have been posturing themselves, these industry figures or influencers, they've been posturing themselves to try to convince you that Microsoft is the one. I think they know what they're doing. I think they're the ones worth following. They're going to have a really, really hard time if any of this turns out to be true. They're going to have a very, very hard time because what they're going to be forced to do is acknowledge that, you know what? Um, Maybe a lot, if not all of what was said prior, such as it's okay to buy video games. The traditional way of doing things has proven to work, and there is no reason to necessarily uproot it. It's, the whole idea of creating a villain out of a company wanting to sell you a product for a premium price because they feel as though it's worth it, the quality is worth it, trying to villainize that and trying to villainize the idea of like buying your video games. This is something that's been, anybody who tells you it hasn't been happening is lying. It's been something that's been pushed very aggressively by Microsoft and the people who follow them. They're going to be forced to realize that, oh, well, we have no choice but to accept that notion as well now because Microsoft actually wants that too. It turns out Microsoft also wants all the money. Shocker. Shocker. You guys already know. Um, Hold on, where am I at here? Saying Boomstick is saying MBG is making things up and spreading misinformation, even though the reports are coming from Xbox insiders. Well, I mean, dude, my only hope is that people are willing to listen. And I understand why people don't want to. If people don't want to believe me, they don't have to believe me. But it's like I'm not the one claiming it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. Believe me when I tell you this was not on the docket for what I was going to be talking about today. Believe me when I saw this coming out last night and I'm like, what the I'm like, what is this? What is going on? And then I look deeper into it and I'm like, oh shit, Sneakers SO he's back at it. And as soon as I saw that name pop up, I'm like, shit just got real. Because the last time I covered this guy, shit got real. Got real quick. And you know, I understand. Like I don't blame Xbox players or enthusiasts who are really, still kind of in it. I don't blame them for feeling the way they feel because it's like, yeah, dude, like if I saw a report like this coming out of PlayStation, I would be, like I'd drop to my knees in the middle of a fucking Walmart or some shit, like this is crazy. It's just crazy that Microsoft, they're when it comes to the Xbox brand, like they could have had it all, man. I hate to say that. But they could, if they played their cards right and they did it right, they could have had it all. They had the recipe at least at one point. Again, whether they stumbled upon it and it was luck based or not, they had it and they let it slip. God knows they let it slip through their fingers. But we have oh, hold on. I think I'm gonna have to refresh the page here because it's glitching out on me. Guys, hold on one sec. I got some more super chats to read, but it's giving me a hard time. And by the way, if you're enjoying the stream so far and enjoying the conversation, make sure you take a moment and hit that like button. Definitely helps the streams. We have Are You Wearing My Underwear? Love the name. Saying, just seen Xbox has more in T20 of all time than PlayStation. Are you referring to the list of like top 20 best-selling games on PlayStation of all time? I don't know if that's what you're referring to or not. I'm assuming that is. And I'm pretty sure if that's what you're referring to, we're talking about Call of Duty. I don't know. Man, Listen, there are definitely some Xbox players in here today, man. Listen, there are definitely some Xbox. I understand. Like, I don't know why I do. I like genuinely don't even try to at this point. I used to try. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's what I used to do like years back. I haven't for a while. I get these like Xbox players where they just really they don't want to hear it from me, man. Doesn't matter if I'm covering even like a confirmed report, you know? Like they just don't want to hear it. And it's like, look, man, that's fine. But like I just hope people understand that I am in agreement. I want this to be made abundantly clear. If you see an Xbox player, it's like, man, I don't want Xbox to go in this direction, or I don't want them to leave the hardware market. I want it to be known that I am in 100% agreement. Again, I used to play on Xbox, dude. I used to love Xbox just as much as the next Xbox fan. Um, but for some reason, I don't know. For some reason, there's just people they don't want to hear that, and I get it, I guess. Raven X Zero says just another Sega situation happening in our lifetime again. Crazy. Crackdown 3 broke MBG. It did. It legitimately did. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to those days. Verko says he's an Xbox player and he's sad and angry. Raven, that's true though, man. And we have Lux Space, a member for 9 months. He says, I can't stop playing Yote. Visuals on Pro are surreal. You just smile looking at what they did. This is why we buy PlayStation and not Xbox. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing some Ghost of Yote, and yes, dude, I've been playing it on my PS5 Pro in the Pro mode, and oh my god, dude, like, it's like, okay, yep, all right. Tsushima looked good, but man, at least on the, I can't speak for like the base PS5, but on the Pro mode with the ray tracing, I mean, I don't want to like be hyperbolic here, but if more studios could take advantage of PSSR and achieve that result, that's a game changer. Visually, that is a game changer. So I'm glad you're enjoying it, Lux Space. I will be probably in tomorrow's stream or certainly upcoming as I get more time in gameplay wise with Yote. We'll be talking about that. But I've been enjoying it. Yeah. I'm getting completely distracted by all of the side content. Like I've made no progress in the story. Nick with a $5 chat says, let this be a cautionary tale for Sony and Nintendo. Exclusives do matter and they will always matter. You know, speaking of which, if Microsoft announces like that they're not doing hardware anymore and they're like basically exiting, I'm going to laugh when Sony's like, quick, port everything to Xbox before they go away completely. You know, like, quick, get Spider-Man over there. We need to take advantage of it before it's gone. It is so weird to me to think that these reports are coming out not too long after Helldivers launched on Xbox, man. Hold on real quick. Bro, what? Did I get to the scissoring scene yet? Well, shit, no. I did discover a couple of hot springs though. So there is that. But spoilers, bro. Chill with the spoilers. Chaos, man. No spoilers, please. Yeah, Nick, I appreciate that super chat, man. We also have Michael Lynch saying Phil Spencer was just the face of the brand. There were people behind him telling him what lies to tell. Yeah, I mean, again, man, I always take it back to that Xbox podcast from last year where I was losing my mind at that podcast reacting to it live because I was just like, this is not real, guys. Like, there's no way people are going to fall for this. Right? And I was wrong, dude. I was wrong. People fell for it. A lot of people did. But I was trying to tell them, like, I'm not saying they're lying directly to your face. I'm just saying they're they're trying to telegraph exactly everything that leaked, but in a much more palatable way, which is fine. They should do that. But it's like, don't walk away from this thinking that, like, don't worry, guys, everything's fine. You know, it should be a 360 error again. I promise. Like, that's not what they're saying. That's not what they're telegraphing, bro, at all. Um, but yeah, that was a weird. I think they'll do that again. By the way, this is. Do you guys see the pattern? Mind you, we're in it again. Don't be surprised if there's Xbox Business Meeting 2.0 next week. This week, you know, you get Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, Sarah Bond. They're gonna come out here. They're gonna tell you everything. Oh, Tarnished, I am not surprised, bro. Don't forget, Phil Spencer follows that guy. Don't forget. You know who doesn't follow me? Herman Holst doesn't follow me. Interesting how that works, isn't it? Isn't it? It's wild, dude. It's so wild to me. But hey, man. Um, yo, how funny would it be if Herman did follow me though? Oh man, he would get his feelings hurt. Oh man, I'm sorry, Herman. It's not personal. I promise. It's not personal. Um, are you wearing my underwear? Says, why do Sony games sell only 1/5 of the player base? Um, I don't know. It's a good question. I think I think the simple answer is because Sony has a lot of casual gamers that buy their console, or what you would consider more casual people who are not seeing God of War and being like, I need that on PS5. Like, I need a PS5 for that. I think you're just seeing people that, I mean, let's face it, the PlayStation brand is pretty universal, and for a lot of people, PlayStation is where they play Call of Duty. PlayStation is where they play GTA. It's going to be where they play GTA 6. PlayStation is where they play their sports games. Even with something like crossplay existing, there's still like millions, tens of millions of people that they don't even, and that does make me sad where it's like, I see a game like Soros coming up and I'm like, man, I hope more people discover this game. I do. I hope that some of these franchises that Sony has can continue to grow and speak to these audiences or these groups of people that are maybe not fully aware. Like, there are other games here. Like, there are games that Sony makes for this console, bro. You might want to check some of them out. Might not like all of them, but they got them. Chris Brown, you're saying found footage of a canceled Sky Cooper movie. Sky Cooper? You mean Sly Cooper? I know you meant Sly Cooper. Uh-oh. Mario B says they spent $7 billion for Bethesda. That's almost $80 billion total. But then they bought in $5 billion, but then they brought in $5 billion in revenue, record high, and say it's profitable. Well, yeah, I mean, with the ABK purchase, man, the big thing that a lot of people, I think, overlooked about it is how dangerous it was. And I don't mean like for the consumer. I'm not saying from the angle of the FTC. I mean dangerous for Microsoft. It's like, guys, they're spending in total. Well, like, you're referencing Bethesda as well. So if we count Bethesda and ABK, that's like 80 billion. That is an unfathomable investment. They By they, I mean the shareholders are going to be the most nervous at seeing an investment like that, and they're going to be the most demanding. Where it's like, you surely didn't just do this out of panic or because, you know what I mean. Like, there's a plan here, right? Like, you guys know what you're doing, and you're going to make a lot of money. Hmm? Um, Returnal's going to go to Xbox, dude. That'd be so fun. It would be so funny. It'd be so funny if, like, if all this is true and Sony still put, like, be like, Sony, what, like, I would literally have to look at Sony being like, are you trying to, like, Are you trying to save Xbox? Yo, Sony's out here trying to save Xbox. Um, MBG, a YouTuber reacted to your tweet on Twitter about Xbox. He has like 200K subs. Are you saying Dreamcast guy? Oh, yeah, Dreamcast guy. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to tweet some of this stuff out last night because I was like, man, a lot of people are going to miss this. I almost missed it. And they're going to wake up and be like, what's going on here? But yeah, what I was trying to say, Mario, is that I just think that people kind of overlooked how dangerous it could be for Microsoft and the Xbox brand. If you make an investment on this scale, it's very volatile, you know? And that volatility is amplified when you realize that they're like, we're going to leverage this in Game Pass. And to me, it just seemed a little bit chaotic, where it's like, okay, you guys basically painted yourself into a corner. You put yourself in a corner by marketing Game Pass for the last 5 years aggressively. And in that 5 years, Game Pass did not grow the way you thought it would. Even by putting your first party games on it, it didn't grow the way you thought it would. Even by trying to buy third party games and bring them in there, it didn't grow the way you thought it would. And in that time, you're struggling to sell consoles and you're conditioning your player base not to buy games. So you can see where the panic kind of comes from, where it's like, well, all right, what if we buy Bethesda? And then what if, you know what? What if we put Starfield day one in the Game Pass? You put Starfield day one in the Game Pass, what happens? Nothing. Nothing. Make no mistake, them putting Starfield exclusively on Xbox and PC and on Game Pass day one. This was this was very much like this is going to move the needle, and then they saw it didn't. Then they upped the ante. You know what? Call of Duty. And I don't blame them. I want to make it clear. I don't blame Microsoft for thinking Call of Duty would move. Even I was like, I got to see this, dude. I'm like, if Call of Duty can't move the needle for Game Pass, it's done. It's done. Nothing will. Nothing will. It doesn't get any bigger than Call of Duty, except for maybe something like GTA. And that's something else we're going to cover is apparently Call of Duty lost Microsoft $300 million. Like they lost $300 million by putting Call of Duty day one onto Game Pass. 82% of Call of Duty's purchases were on PlayStation, and they lost $300 million by putting Black Ops 6 day one on Game Pass. It's just, I can't say that Microsoft didn't try. They did try to save all of their different, the console, the exclusives, Game Pass. They tried. It's just not working, man. Like nothing they've been, and I kept making this statement probably over the past 3 months where I'm like, dude, there's somebody at Microsoft, probably Phil Spencer, dude, but others punching air because they're like, how is this not working? And it goes back to the root of what I've been saying for the longest time, which is if you don't have it, you don't have it, Microsoft. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to explain it. If you don't have the secret sauce, you don't have it. And nothing you do is going to change that. Nothing you do is going to win people over. Maybe temporarily it will, but once people realize you don't got the sauce, bro. Even if you buy the people who seem like they have the sauce, it's still not going to do it because you're trying to run a platform. You're trying to run a platform, dude, and an ecosystem. And this is how it's playing out. Where what does Microsoft have to do now, seemingly? What are they doing? They're saying we are essentially transitioning to being a major third-party publisher. I mean, who would have thought that this is what it would have came down to? Even 6 years ago, dude. So I'm just laughing at talking about the sauce. Um, all right, let's read this. I'm going to read this in one go. So if you drop, by all means, continue to drop super chats and support. I'll acknowledge it. I'm just going to read this in one go. So Sneakers SO on Twitter, or sorry, not Twitter, on NeoGaf. Somebody says, I wonder what our old pal Sneakers SO thinks of what's going on right now at Xbox. His last postings were from 2 months ago. I wouldn't mind an industry insider's perspective on all of this. Sneakers SO shows up. And he says, without going into too much detail, not long after the last round of layoffs, the next one should be coming in Q1 2026, by the way, and it's going to be just as massive as the last one. Some rumblings out of Xbox started coming out that were a little hard to believe. The ramifications of the Call of Duty Game Pass gambit not working out were just starting to get properly measured. But the thing that really stuck out to me was that suddenly, really concrete plans for an actual Microsoft Xbox or Microsoft Xbox hardware went from being definitive to now being up in the air, which was really startling given that the thing was meant to be out relatively soon. It was one of those situations where, despite folks being told, hey, we want to pull the trigger on this in 2026, the steps that would need to be taken to the lead up to delivering a new console were not being met. Lots of things that were, quote, sure things started getting pushed. Then Costco, the retailer, pulling Xbox, and apparently they are one of many that we'll learn about soon. This is what told me all I needed to know. To sum it up, the future of Xbox is software publishing with a significantly honed in focus on profitable IPs like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Minecraft, Candy Crush, Forza Horizon. Cloud gaming being the home of the Xbox platform, transitioning Game Pass into basically becoming the point of entry subscription for xCloud access, which will continue to drive its price tag higher, by the way. They're not done there just yet either, and releasing their software on any device that has a marketplace and users willing to buy their titles. Maybe some OEM thing will take up the Xbox name, but given what is clearly a collapse in favorable mindshare and faith in the brand, I'm not even sure a third-party OEM is going to want to have an Xbox console by the time Microsoft is done reorienting the division. So this is the one that really came out and just kind of like startled people. And I see we have Corey the Legend Landiga once again. He's coming in and he drops another 10 membership gifts for you guys. Let's get some W's in the chat for Corey. He's doing some heavy lifting for the community today. Bro, thank you so much for that.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
Thank you so much, Corey. And we are 4 away, by the way. We get 4 more members. We'll feed the beast here some of his treats. But yeah, man, this is this is something I think you guys really, that everybody should pay attention to, because again, the Sneakers SO individual, even Tom Warren, like, I'm not a fan of Tom Warren, but even he came out. He's a known Xbox guy at The Verge, and he has his own contacts. He said that Sneakers SO knows a lot of what's going on internally at Xbox. So even somebody like Tom Warren's coming out, and vouching to a degree for this individual, which I think this person's track record speaks for itself, honestly. But we also have Hellbound 1981. So Corey and Hellbound are tag teaming it today. Hellbound drops another 5 for you guys, brings us up to 26, and just like that.
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
So Hellbound, thank you, buddy. Thank you guys for the support. We'll give oh, is he from Xbox Era as well? Okay. We'll give Boss some treats. He's been waiting. He's been patient. He's been good. Here you go, Boss. It's all you, man. Enjoy. He's right below me here. He'll get to it, I guess, when he's ready. There we go. But yeah, there's more coming out, by the way. So there's a couple of things we have to follow up here. Sneakers SO was the first person to start breaking this news and talking about it. But we have here insider Ecstasis. According to his sources, several retail stores in Spain will stop selling Xbox Series consoles and Microsoft told them that they're not going to ship more consoles. So this is happening at the same time. Costco says they're not selling Xbox products anymore. Now you have, Sneakers SO coming out, and they're saying, look, man, um, more retailers are going to follow. And now apparently they're going to be done selling in Spain completely. Are you wearing my underwear? Says GeForce now went up in price. xCloud next for sure. Yeah, the whole xCloud thing is what's crazy to me. Like there seems to be Sneakers SO seems to be telegraphing that Microsoft is essentially going to get out of the hardware space and not enter the cloud space, but replace it with cloud. Like it's like if you want to play on the Xbox platform now, you're going to do so through cloud. Like that's going to be the only way you can access it. But mm, I don't know about that though, because like there's the Xbox app on PC still, so there is still that. But I don't know. It just seems like they're going to be making a major, major push. The way he words it here, he says, cloud gaming will become the home of the Xbox platform, transitioning Game Pass into basically becoming the point of entry sub for xCloud access. This does line up with the rumors we've been hearing of there's going to be like a free version of xCloud as well as Game Pass where it's going to be ad based. And that already sounds cursed as it is, but it sounds even worse if everything else we're hearing here starts to, if it turns out to be true. Now we have Jez Corden. Jez Corden apparently said on Twitter, there are presently no plans to cancel any planned Xbox hardware. The plans outlined by Sarah Bond and AMD multi-year partnership for first-party hardware, they're still the plans as of right now. But the fact that the rumors are so plausible showcase a real issue with faith in Xbox. I'm going to be honest, man. Look, I have no problems with Jez Corden. Like, I don't really follow Jez Corden. And I don't have any problems with him. But people were quick to show me, like, just so you know, this is the same guy who tweeted and it was around the same time, by the way. It was specifically, to be clear, it was specifically around the time that Sneakers SO back in December of 2023, Sneakers SO was saying that Microsoft is going to be bringing their games to PlayStation. In response to that, around that, you know, that rumor, Jez Corden says, no, Xbox is not porting its console exclusives to PlayStation. It's just hard hopium from fanboys. So it's like, dude, I'm sorry. If this tweet didn't exist, I would take what he's saying here more seriously, but it's clear that he's not in the know. I'm sorry. Like, he's just not in the know because he said that with utter confidence. And he would only tweet something like that if whoever he was talking to told him like they're not putting their games on PlayStation. And literally like a month or two later, that exact thing happened. So I can't. It's difficult for like I'll put it to you this way. I'll just put it to you this way. If I had to take Sneakers SO, if I had to take his word or Jez Corden's, I'm taking Sneakers every day, dude. Because that guy hasn't missed. And that was the guy. That was the guy that this tweet was basically a reaction to. So, I'm not, and I want to make it clear. Microsoft could continue hardware. They could, and we have Digital Dude 27. Used to saying 25. He says, "Good riddance, Xbox. You will not be missed at all. I don't feel sorry for a company who didn't even try to make good games besides Forza Horizon. All they knew how to do was buy shit, not a creative bone in their company." Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't want to see it go down this way, dude. You know, when is the celebratory Xbox is dead stream? Guys, you're not helping my case, No, I truthfully it's going to be a sad day if this is happening, man. Okay? If this is happening and Xbox is like we are not making hardware anymore. It's like we're done. Like we are actually exiting the market. That is to me a sad day. And I agree with you, Digital Dude. I have always said that there's something missing with Microsoft. And no amount of money, you can't just throw money at it. You need it's a skill. It's something that has to be honed ultimately. And I'm not saying they didn't try. I'm just saying they failed. They did. And that's why it's been so pathetic, in my opinion, to watch the Xbox fans. And I'm not talking about normal fans. You guys already know this, but I will preface it. I'm not talking about normal Xbox fans who are just enjoying the console, playing on it, whatever, playing the games. I'm talking about the people who are very very vocal in support of Xbox and very defensive. It's always been pathetic to me where it's like, guys, don't you understand? Like how can you cheer on Microsoft buying ABK and then have the audacity to make like these pictures, these like templates of look at all the games that are joining Xbox. Like, are you kidding me, bro? Like Xbox couldn't even save Halo. They couldn't even save Halo, but you're gonna cheer them on acquiring Call of Duty? What the fuck's wrong with you? In fact, what's wrong with you, I fear, is what's wrong with Microsoft and why this is only gonna go one way. Chad Warden voice. I don't mean to get so heated about it, but it's just like, dude, come on, man. Like, and I get it. At the end of the day, what else are they supposed to do? Their only option is to do what I did, which is, bro, they ain't cooking. And I'm not waiting around anymore. I've waited years. They still ain't. You know, there's like, here, we got Crackdown 3. We cooked. Like, no, you didn't. You didn't cook shit. What the fuck even is that? You know? And I just had to give it up where I'm like, I'll be back if you guys cook. I came, dude, I came back for Hellblade 2 thinking Team Ninja, or sorry, Ninja Theory cooked. And I'm like, I got to read this guy. Listen, I got to read this to you guys. I want to make it very clear. I don't know. I'm going to say take this with a big pinch of salt. I can't look, I can't I have no way of verifying this, of course. But what I do need to point out is that the two individuals that we're about to cover that stated this, these two individuals are well-known, very established insiders, one of them being Sneakers SO. I'm going to read this to you. This was an exchange on the NeoGAF forum. Heisenberg FX4. Heisenberg is another well-known insider. Um, and here's what they said. I'm telling you right now, I don't know that I believe all this. Like, this sounds like it could be total bullshit, but I don't know why they would be exchanging stories like this. Heisenberg said, I have shared this story a few times, so not breaking any new ground here. Well, it's funny because this is the first time I'm hearing of it. But it's funny that Phil Spencer and Mike Ybarra shared a drink in Phil's office when Jim Ryan was promoted to the head of PlayStation, as they thought that he would run PlayStation into the ground. Yet neither Phil or Mike were smart enough to realize their own ship had already struck an iceberg, and they were standing in waist deep water having that drink. Bro, what? It gets worse. It does get worse, but that's just crazy to me. I love the idea of Jim Ryan getting promoted and like Xbox executives are celebrating that shit. They're like, oh, this motherfucker's going to destroy this brand. They don't even know what they just did. It's kind of believable, though. It's somewhat believable. Um, Stephanie says, so to Xbox, you're saying Xbox Dead News overshadowing that trash game? What game are you referring to? Pay me more money to tell me what game you're referring to, please. Thank you. Um, It gets worse though, dude. Sneakers SO replied to this and said, "I'll never forget the story that I heard that Phil Spencer celebrated when he saw the announcement video for Horizon Forbidden West and said Halo Infinite blew it out of the water. A month later, they did the gameplay reveal for Infinite, which went so poorly that the game got delayed out of the Series X launch for over a year." I'll tell you why I believe this. I will tell you why that story I actually believe. The reason I believe that story is because I will never forget when I saw that Halo Infinite gameplay reveal and the way it went down. I couldn't believe that it was greenlit. That like it was like, yes, show this off at our Xbox Series X event. You know, I should have worn a suit today. No. That's why I believe where I'm like, I remember specifically asking like who gave this the thumbs up? Who said this is good enough to show? Especially when you know what your competition is. I'll never forget that, man. And that's why that sounds so believable to me where I'm like, yeah, like there's got to be some level of delusion or just unawareness of like, do you not realize how much better Horizon looks than this? Like, come on. Like, this isn't, that's just crazy. Um, Now this is the part that I don't want to believe this. I refuse to believe this. Somebody says when he became the head of their game studios, right? The bit about using actual marketing resources to pay for Phil Spencer, the gamer Spencer persona, is next level. Sneakers SO says, "Yup, that's it. He has actual folks on payroll playing his Xbox account to drum up his gamer score to boost that gamer image. It's really sad." I refuse to believe that, bro. But it's coming from this guy, Sneakers SO, and I'm like, who is this? Who is this person, bro? Who is this person, man? The Craig memes will never die. Um, are you wearing my underwear saying sounds like Chat GPT fan fiction? It does. It doesn't sound. The only thing that really sounds believable to me is the Halo Infinite thing. The other stuff, I'm like, bro, if this is true, I don't want to know about it. I don't want. You're talking about behind closed doors, like company, like weirdo company shit that's going on, and I'm just like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know any of it. It's just Phil. Yeah, Phil's the leaker. He's admitting it. He's admitting to it. Ray, you're saying read my last chat. Let me see if I can find it. It will be funny. Then a documentary later, they have Sneakers SO talking with a blurred face and they unblur it and it was Phil Spencer. Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is so weird. There's something about this person where I'm like, how do they know this stuff? Who is this? Who is this? Who is this person? It's Satya Nadella. It's not even Phil. It's just Satya, bro. Just think about it. Who would be able to stop Satya? Mm, that's wild stuff, man. Sneaker Nadella. Virtual Man says people acting like Microsoft buying ABK is a good thing, despite Microsoft having a long history of neglecting, abandoning, and mishandling beloved IPs like Banjo Kazooie and Halo. Need a massive reality check. Yeah, and like, look, man, I've always tried to give the benefit of the doubt where it's like, I understand where people want to continue to have hope. I've been there. Trust me. I get it. You want to hope for the best for the studios and for the brand and the the thing that you've invested in and that you've enjoyed and have a certain level of nostalgia for. I feel that way about PlayStation still. Like, but I don't know, man. Like, there's just the thing that I've always I think had a problem with is that too many people, very vocal people, they seem to be okay with Microsoft struggling with the fundamentals. And that's what always bothered me. And I'm like, you guys can't let this pass. Like, you can't be okay with Microsoft struggling with the fundamentals. Okay. Because if they can't get the fundamentals right, then they're not going to get anything right. And I feel like this really did start to happen towards the end of the Xbox 360 generation, and it carried over into the Xbox One gen. They did have a little bit of momentum in the Xbox One gen at the beginning, where they did lock down some good games overall, but then the wheels just fell completely off almost instantly. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, where it's like when I talk about the fundamentals, I'm talking about just the idea of like, listen, man, you know, like all of the celebration that I see, especially now from the Xbox fandom, is for like the wrong reasons. I want to say wrong. Wrong is too strong of a word, but for reasons that again I feel like stray too far away from like what clearly brought these people to the console in the first place, to that brand in the first place. Where it's like, guys, I'm just gonna be honest, man. Like the past couple months, ever since Helldivers 2 was announced for Xbox, some of the most vocal PlayStation or sorry, Xbox fans, I feel like they were expressing more excitement at the prospect of getting these Sony games than they were any of the games that Microsoft was releasing or has coming up. I'm like, what is up with that, man? What is up with that? I feel like it's all I saw people talking about was like Spider-Man. Like I get it. I get the idea of like Spider-Man being on Xbox is kind of like crazy and groundbreaking or whatever, but it's like fundamentally speaking, Xbox players are hyping up a console that and this is what I want to know. I want to know if this is canceled or not. This Xbox PC hybrid, they're hyping up the ability to play PlayStation games through Steam. And it's like, I tried explaining this ever since it was announced, ever since it was rumored. I tried explaining to people that you are hyping up something that exists right now, that you can go to Best Buy or you can go to Amazon or you can go anywhere. Really, you can build it yourself. It exists right now. What you are excited to play exists right now. And there's nothing stopping you. Nothing. And when you realize that, that's why this is believable. That's why it's believable. It's like, would they really cancel their console? It's because it wasn't a console. They realized they're making a PC, man. That shit, we're just selling PCs, expensive PCs. We could have been doing that this whole time. If there was ever a leak to respond to, it's this. Well, I want to make it clear that we could be in the next couple days saying they're still making it. I wouldn't be completely shocked if it turns out that, like, no, that PC hybrid thing we're still making that. Because even Sneakers SO does not say it's officially, he's not saying it's been canceled. He's saying that from what he's hearing, it went from a sure thing to now they're trying to figure it out. And I bet you, I guarantee you that they're looking right. They're probably watching the stream right now. They're looking at all the tweets. They're looking at everybody's reactions. They're looking at all the headlines. They want to gauge the reaction. They want to know. They want to know how people are going to react. How much do people, they did this exact thing. This is part of the Microsoft playbook, man. They know what they're doing. Come on, they're a multi-trillion dollar corporation. They know what they're doing when it comes to marketing and manipulating the headlines and whatnot. This is very much a situation where don't be surprised. And remember, I'm saying this. Somebody clip this. Okay. This is no different than the 2024 situation where we need to make it seem like everything's on fire. We need to throw people into panic. There has to be hysteria, and it needs to seem like the Xbox brand is officially dead as of today. Okay. And all we're waiting for is the official confirmation from Microsoft. Give it a couple days, maybe even a week. Then we're going to send out Phil and everybody else that we need to send out, and we're going to control the message. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to tell you that it's all pretty much true, most of it, but it's not as bad as it seems. It's not as bad as it sounds. We're going to take the it's not what you say, it's how you say it approach. And that is exactly what they did last year. And they're probably going to do it again here. And that's why I'm not going to be surprised if they have some kind of thing where they come out and they're like, yeah, we're still doing the console. But what about everything else? What about everything else? Um, Ray, you're saying, MBG, did you see Mighty Keith's cancel Game Pass video? No, I'll have to save that for the members lounge, dude. I think it popped up on my feed, but I didn't watch it yet, Ray. And Stephanie says, Ghost of Yoda, I'm so happy nobody's talking about it. You're saying Xbox is dead is your best content, or it's boring, to be honest? Well, whatever you find enjoyment in, Stephanie. You know? I mean, people criticize me for being boring, but I don't know, man. Most of the time, we're just having discussion. And, like, truthfully, I've never tried to position my content as come in for the entertainment value, guys. I got to dance like a monkey for you. No, I positioned it as I want to have discussions, you know? Now, sometimes I do get a little bit heated. I do get a little bit heated. And maybe that's what spices it up a little bit. But yeah, you don't have to watch anything. Hey, if this is what gets you watching, though, that's fine. That's fine. You think they will do the PC hybrid, but it's their last hardware? Well, right now, the big thing that I'm focused on is that there's so I just spoke about the similarities between what we're seeing now. It's playing out the exact, and I'm not exaggerating, the exact same way, right? As it did in February of 2024. The same people are chiming in, the same people are going back and forth, and it's a clear manipulation. But here's what's interesting. Back in 2024, what was it centered around? There were these rumors about Game Pass. There was rumors about Microsoft taking over gaming. There were these rumors about the future of Xbox hardware. But the big thing, the focal point, was Xbox games being announced going to PlayStation. You even saw key games going out there, being named like Indiana Jones, Starfield, etc. Right? Um, and that's why I pulled up that Jez Corden tweet because, you know, there was a lot of people who didn't believe it. They're like, "No, dude, it's not happening. It's not true." And I get it. I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, just to imagine they're just going to do that." Um, and then again, Microsoft did their podcast, but what was the outcome? And this is the important part that I want to hone in on. The actual outcome is it was true. Yes, we are porting games to PlayStation, but don't worry, it's just 4. You know, it's just 4. Keep it up. I love it. Low Locale. I can't eat off this. Well, Stephanie, listen. There are people whose content. Okay, we're discussing video games. We're discussing the industry. We're actually trying to have a decent discussion about what's going on in the games industry. There are people whose content is literally just showing you what I'm saying and then reacting to it. All right. My question is, why are you here and not there? Why? Why? Because you're not contributing anything to the conversation. Like, I appreciate the money, I do, but I don't need your money, Stephanie. I sure as shit don't need your money. And honestly, the only reason I haven't even deleted your super chats or banned you is because, well, I was just kind of hoping you'd turn it around. I don't need your money. We got a lot of good people here, and they donate to this channel. And why do you think they donate to it? Do you think they donate it because they want people like you here? No. They donate to it because they want people like most of who's in the chat right now to have good conversation, to have some kind of discussion. Because people would have you believe that all you're going to get here is brain dead fanboy banter, but in reality, we're actually going deeper than most of these other places ever would dare to go. That's the reality. What are we talking about? Are we sitting here? Am I sitting here telling you I'm so glad that Xbox is about to die? That's not what I'm telling you. In fact, I told you the exact opposite. But that's not what you're hearing. That's not what's getting through to you. What's getting through to you is you're a PlayStation fanboy that wants to see Xbox die. Look at you. Look at you. Because that's what these people did to your brain. That's what they convinced you of. And that's all you hear, that's all you see. So, in conclusion, please fuck off. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Oh yeah, that's a Hanzo. That's Honko. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Oh, and I'll just take it a step further. For all the people, and I'll just put this out there for all the people that are like, "Oh, you're so boring. You're so boring, and you're so this and you're so that." Then why do you keep bringing me up on screen? Why? And you know what they'll say? Because we're making fun of you. We're laughing at you. No, no, no. No, what is it really? Because you're a fanboy and we make No, no, no. What's it really? Because we need you to make our own content. Content. Okay. As long as we're clear on that. As long as we're clear on that. But when it comes to this whole console situation, man, I don't know what to make of it because if Microsoft cancels what they already decided to do and announce with AMD, that's what a lot of people are bringing up, the AMD contract. And I'm like, dude, we don't know the inner workings of that contract or what it looks like. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just had the funniest idea. Mrs. MEG's. It's such a good idea. All right. All right. Um. Well, yeah, dude. People have been bringing up the AMD contract, and I'm like, listen, I get it. I think that's what would make this so shocking is that there was even a video that was put out by Sarah Bond where it was like a minute long and she's hyping up like we're making new hardware and we're proud to announce this partnership with AMD. And I'm like, this is, yeah, okay, like this is real. This is real. You know, this is real. And I don't blame anybody for looking at that and saying, well, that's official. And what we're seeing now is not. What we're seeing now is rumor and reporting. I don't blame anybody for that. And that's why I'm sitting here saying, like, yeah, man, even the person where this, the main source of where this comes from, even they're not saying it's officially canceled. I just have this feeling that they're on the razor's edge right now. I think they're trying to figure out. I think there's a push and a pull going on maybe at Microsoft. I've been getting that feeling ever since they acquired ABK. There's a lot of pushing and pulling going on internally. I think right now the big push and pull is, do we actually commit to hardware? Like, do we really go through with this again? And I think there's people inside of Microsoft that are like, absolutely, we need to do this. Like, we can't abandon this. We can't do, like, this is a mistake. And there's also people that are like, no, no, this is a waste of time. We need to just cut the shit, you know what I mean? And just get to where we need to be. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. Now, I could be wrong about that. Maybe the decision has already been made. And this is just all kind of an illusion, so to speak. But it is interesting to me that, that video does exist and there's multiple instances over the last 2 years of specifically Sarah Bond saying we are making another console. And then to just kind of out of nowhere be like, actually, never mind. It happens though. The thing is though, like, this shit does happen. It's not unprecedented. It's just not common, really. Not on this level, I guess. They have certain opt-out clauses. Well, that's another thing. Like, there's always clauses with these contracts, and we have no idea what the contract between AMD and Microsoft look like. For all we know, like, Microsoft could get they could be at risk of getting sued if they did something like that. Or maybe it's exactly what you're saying, Whiskey, where there is an opt out clause, for whatever reason. Maybe if they hit like a certain low threshold or something for sales or some shit, it's like, yeah, we can't do this anymore. Um, I'm sure there's something there, and to be honest, it makes sense. If you're Microsoft, while I don't know the details of that AMD contract, if you're Microsoft, you see what's happening with your hardware, you're probably going to put something in there to where if you got to back out, you'll be able to before you agree to that contract. And if you're AMD, you're not going to say no because it's like you'll just hope that they won't back out. That'll be more business. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of it. I don't know. Again, not privy to all the details. Didn't KFC say they were making a console, or was that not real? Hey, yeah. Wait a second. Where is that KFC console, dude? The KFC console. Holy shit, that was funny. That was some good stuff. Good times. Good times. All right. I do need to see if there have been any other updates though. I also don't know if Sneaker SO has said anything more. I haven't really been keeping tabs. I mean, how concerned should we be if Microsoft decides not to make a console, at all? Because I was kind of thinking like if they make this hybrid, even though it's going to be a high end PC that they're selling, a higher end PC, it still felt like there might be some level of competition. But I don't know. Mario B, you're saying I've been considering the Legion Go S Steam OS Z1 Extreme for a while now. Do you think Steam is worth it for someone who already owns a PS5? Probably, yeah. I guess it really just depends on like how you plan on dividing your time. How invested you are on the PlayStation 5, but I think for a lot of people Steam and the PS5 is like the way to go. But for a lot of people, it's actually all three. And I think for a lot of people going forward for like the enthusiast level, it's going to be Steam, PS5, and Switch 2. And all your bases will be covered. Which again, when you look at that, it kind of, you know, we see what's happening with the Xbox side of things. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I mean, I don't really play on Steam, Mario, but I've heard nothing but good things, really. People who play on Steam, as long as you're okay with like PC gaming, Steam is pretty damn good. For a lot of people, it's the best. But yeah, I don't currently play on Steam. Maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I'll get more invested. It's certainly a possibility. I've just never really been interested in PC gaming. Truthfully, I have no problem with it. I've tried PC gaming a number of times, and I just never quite got in the rhythm with it. I'm like, I don't. I grew up playing on console. That's how I play games. That's why is I've that's why I care about the console. That's why I'm so passionate about it. It's like I don't want to see it go away, you know? I don't want to see the Xbox console go away. I don't want to see it buried, literally. Like I don't want to see Microsoft announce they're exiting the console market. It'll be like a big deal. And of course there will be certain people celebrating, but like to me that's just kind of tragic in a way where it's like what the fuck, bro? Like you guys were supposed to be the ones to go toe to toe with Sony. Now who's going to? It ain't going to be Nintendo. No offense to Nintendo. It's just that they're doing their own thing, you know? And I don't know. I guess it's just not meant to be ultimately. All the settings overwhelm him. Yeah, they fry my brain, basically. Um, all right, let's see here. Uh, just give me one sec. I'm trying to. I don't know. My Twitter's like spazzing out. I don't know why. I'm trying to see if there's any updates to any of the stuff we've been covering or talking about. It does at the moment, it doesn't look like it. It is Sunday though. Like I kind of forgot it's Sunday, so Microsoft is about to launch free Xbox cloud gaming with ads. The free streaming is now testing internally and it doesn't require Game Pass sub. A public test is coming soon. Microsoft employees can now access an ad-supported version of Xbox Cloud Gaming ahead of its public text or test. Sorry. This time next year, they'll reinforce the value of Essential with occasional ads, while Premium will get fewer ads. And then Jack Ultimate up another $10 per month with an added bonus of ad-free gaming for no ad distractions. Oh my lord, what? That can't be real. That cannot be. That has to be. That can't be real. That does sound beyond fucking cursed. Holy shit. But yeah, that's another thing too, is like Google Stadia. Um Google Stadia, I remember when this was announced, there were some people who were really on board with it, and I'm like, guys, this isn't a thing. This isn't real. Like people are not going to be okay with this. They're not going to be on board with this. And I was kind of a Google Stadia hater. I'm going to be honest. I was, because I'm like, dude, fuck the idea of cloud gaming being the only way you can game on a platform. Like, what the fuck? You know? Like, and it was because like Google had this kind of like earnestness where it's like, we're paving the way to the future. Like, bro, your future sucks ass. Who wants this? Like, cloud gaming should always be an option. And I don't care even if it takes over. When I say take over, I mean it becomes like much more viable for people. There has to be more points of accessibility, because it's just like, or alternatives. Because the idea of these companies making everything cloud based, that's like, I mean, that's their dream. You own literally nothing. You own literally nothing, and we can take it away at any moment. We could take it away at any moment, man. Kojima is making a game for, yeah. Well, that's what OD is. Kojima was originally making a game for Stadia, and it was going to be what OD is now. But Stadia went under. Stadia went under like instantly, dude. It was just DOA, literally DOA, and it seems like he decided to pitch it to Microsoft. Ray's really enjoying that video. You're happy to see Game Pass fail. People need to go back to buying games, especially physical games. If physical games die beyond PS6, it's gone for good. It's going to be irreversible. Vote with your money. I can get behind that. Yeah. This is why I try to tell people, like, you got to keep buying some level of physical games, man. Because once we do cross that threshold, once we do cross that threshold, um, you know, there is no going back. Do we think physical? Oh, you're saying you guys think physical is staying? Well, I don't know, man. Apparently, Hideaki Nishino, apparently he acknowledged, at least at Tokyo Game Show, that at least for PlayStation, like there's still PlayStation's still big in certain territories where physical is still kind of, if not dominant. I don't think dominant's the right word, but very relevant. And that kind of ensures that they're not going to be leaving it anytime soon. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't like where things are headed ultimately. Um it's just going to suck to have fewer and fewer options to, to buy games. Um yeah. I'm not, I always want to encourage people to try to buy some physical. I know not everybody's going to. There are a lot of people who've just embraced the digital only future, but it's just like, the thing is, people embrace things, certain things, and they're like, And then a couple years later, like, why is it so shit now? It's like, well, because you gave him the signal that it's okay. It's a tough line to walk sometimes. Sometimes it's overt and it's obvious. Other times it can be tougher. Kaz Jam, you're saying cloud only gaming means you fell in love with can permanently be erased and you can never play them again. There you go. Okay, I get what you're saying, Kaz Jam. Yeah, that's the thing. The biggest danger of cloud only gaming is exactly that these companies, they don't really give a shit how you feel about their product as long as they're just making the money off of it. But if at any moment they're not and they want to get rid of it, they don't have to deal with all the extra baggage, right? That's become clear. We've even seen some publishers pull their games from digital storefronts. Now, a lot of times that happens due to licensing, but it's just the notion that this could just disappear at the flip of a switch, and there's nothing anybody like. There's no recourse whatsoever. There's nothing anybody can do about it. I don't know. Like it bleeds into the conversation of like, are we really going to trade ownership and tangibility for convenience? Convenience is important, but is it that important? Like convenience has to be the be all end all, even if it means sacrificing those things. I don't agree with that. But this is what the majority is saying, unfortunately. And it's not just in gaming, it's just across all media. All markets across all media are saying that we are okay sacrificing these things in the name of convenience and accessibility. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it starts to look like a bad thing when you realize that these corporations are laughing and like very much behind the scenes, like, absolutely, you know, like, yes, please embrace that convenience because we will take more and more from you till you're left with nothing. And it sucks because that does seem to be the way we're heading, the direction we're headed in multiple fronts. You think this gives PlayStation 5 more life till possibly holiday 2028 for the PS6? Hmm. I don't know. I think Sony's plans are locked in at this point, from what I can tell. I think they're locked in. Um, I'm not saying there couldn't be any level of deviation, but it just seems to me like I don't know. It seems to me like Sony very much is still on board with targeting a holiday 2027 for their you know, for their next gen console. But I don't know. Who kn- who knows how much things could change at the last moment if something like this really does happen. I have the feeling though. I have a strong feeling that Sony has been operating not really paying attention to what Microsoft's doing. I don't want to say at all, but I just think that Sony's like, look, we have our own thing we're doing. Like we smoked the Xbox console, bro. Like Nintendo is more of a threat at this point, potentially. And even then, Sony doesn't view Nintendo as much of a threat. They're just like, we're going to just focus on doing what we got to do. I think that's how Sony's operating. I think that's how they've been operating for a while. Um, and this is why I tell people, like, we have to be balanced in our approach to where we can't let them get away with everything, right? We got to call them out when it feels necessary to do so. But at the same time, there's a difference between that and people just kind of jumping on bandwagons where it's like, oh my God, Sony fucking sucks. Everything they do sucks. It's like, well, oh, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. There's a very high chance that Sony knows what's going on. Well, probably, yeah. Sony checked out as soon as they started releasing games on PlayStation. Perhaps. It's possible that could have been when they were like, yeah, this we're kind of done, you know. Planet Clippy with a $2 chat says, "So can we stop acting like PlayStation games are going multi-platform?" Well, that's not going to stop Planet Clippy. I mean, like, I just try to tell people, man, like, people are quick to ignore what's in front of them in favor of what they want to be, what they want to see, right? Where it's like, what's in front of you is Death Stranding is still not on PC. What's in front of you is Ghost of Yotei just came out only on PS5. What's in front of you is Saros as well as Wolverine are only announced for PS5. And people want to be like, yeah, well, what about this? And it's like, again, the whataboutism. Like, if you want to live 2 years in the future and try to tell everybody that we're behind because we're not living 2 years in the future, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. Where it's like, okay, like Sony still has exclusives, man. I don't know what to tell people about that. Does it like if you were to say, well, does that mean they're always going to have them? I don't have the answer to that question. I don't know. Detective Seas is reporting that Returnal has been canceled as of yesterday. Oh, for Xbox? That'd be so dude, that would be the funniest shit. I would love to know if that's true. That would be crazy. Oh my god. Like Sony's like, "You know what? Nah." Like, what? I'll be honest, I have a hard time believing that Returnal was even being ported to Xbox. I'm serious. Like that's not like because fuck Xbox. No, that's because like, dude, it didn't sell that great on PlayStation. It sold modestly well on PlayStation. But it's like if it didn't, if it struggled to get to 1 million, it did get to 1 million, I think. But if it struggled to get to 1 million on PlayStation, why do we like what do we think is going to happen on Xbox, dude? Like that to me, like Helldivers, I can understand as a live service game. Returnal would truly baffle me. Where it's like, what do you hope to achieve here with this? Like, you know what I mean? Like an extra 15,000 sales? Is that really worth it? You know? Sony doesn't need Xbox for any game. No, I mean they really don't need them, but I don't know, man. I just we didn't even really talk too much about the Game Pass situation either. The Game Pass situation is crazy, where um so much of what we've been saying about Game Pass turned out to be completely true. Oh God. All right. Sony used to be savage. Remember the PS4 commercial? How you shared games? That was a brutal ad. Yeah. Sony was really savage, maybe to an unnecessary degree. Got to work on your review for Chronos: The New Dawn MBG. Do not pass on Chronos. You absolutely love it. Yeah, I got to get to it at some point. It's on my backlog. I've heard really good things about it. I've heard Chronos is very good. Yeah, well, let's talk about Game Pass for a moment. Um, so one of the things that apparently is being reported on with Game Pass is the logistics. Not even just the logistics, just the financial reality of putting Call of Duty day one onto Game Pass is turns out it's hurting Microsoft. It turns out that when Bobby Kotick during the ABK trial said, I have no idea why Microsoft would put Call of Duty on the Game Pass. Like I would never do that. Turns out he was on to something. Turns out anybody with with just a modicum of sense, business sense, would realize that this is a bit like I'm not gonna say that it wouldn't work. I don't want to make it. I don't want to be arrogant. But like the risk is substantial. The risk is substantial here. Where it's like, listen, you're banking on Call of Duty bolstering subscriber numbers by a lot. You're banking that by putting games like Black Ops 6 Day 1 onto Game Pass that you're going to see millions potentially of subscribers. And I think that the harshest reality check that Microsoft got was that it did pretty much nothing. In fact, I think it moved the needle by 1%. I think that was reported on. And I just remember learning about that and being like, that can't be good. It's one thing if Starfield doesn't move the needle. It's another thing entirely when you just paid $68 billion for Call of Duty and Call of Duty didn't move the needle. So people wonder where that Game Pass price increase comes from. Mind you, Call of Duty's coming out in a little over a month, like a month and 2 weeks, I think, month and a half. And this price increase is being announced in proximity to Call of Duty launching. Um, Oh, it was 2%. My bad, Devil Shooter. Thank you. Thank you, Devil Shooter. Yeah, 2%. It moved the needle 2%. Um, I don't know what people are gonna say anymore. I just don't know. I will be honest with you guys. What I have noticed over the last 2.5 years is that Microsoft has been floundering. Microsoft has been desperate. Microsoft has done everything they could possibly do to try to convince you, me, and the entire gaming world that they're still in this fight. That don't worry, we didn't drop the ball. And it's reached a point where it's like you can't what can you do and say at this point? You did drop the ball numerous times. And we've seen it. And now the mask is off. Not only did you drop the ball, but the mask is off now too. Where where people are like now realizing like it's do you know how crazy it's been to see so many individuals that have just been eating up the whole Game Pass thing coming out and posting pictures of themselves canceling it, and I'm like, I get it. Some people they just got to see it happen in real time, and I get it. I said earlier that like you don't want to live in the future. Not everybody wants to live in the future, but there's just some things where it's like this is painfully obvious. You know what I mean? Like this is painfully obvious. And I mean, this whole time Sony's just like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing the Game Pass model. We're not putting our games day one on the PlayStation Plus. Do you know why? Do you know why we're not doing it? Because it's not sustainable. Dude, I had this person, they said to me, you know, I like quote tweeted the the Game Pass thing. And this person responded to me. Let me see if I can find it. So here we go. Former FTC chair says Microsoft's acquisition of Activision is, quote, harming both gamers and developers. Lena Khan tried to sue and stop Microsoft's deal of Activision, but lost in court. She says Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been followed by significant price hikes and layoffs, harming both gamers and developers. As we've seen across sectors, increasing market consolidation and increasing prices often go hand in hand. As dominant firms become too big to care, they can make things worse for their customers without having to worry about the consequences, which is very much something we have to worry about with Sony if Microsoft really does kill the hardware. Um, but I responded to this and I said, and oh boy, do I fucking mean this when I say it. I said, never forget all those who were trying to convince you this would be a good thing for the gaming industry, going as far to cheer it on and dunk on those who opposed it. Oh, do you guys remember? Devil Shooter, I know you remember. I know you remember. But then this person replies and they say, um, This person says, "How did this hurt you as a customer?" Serious question. I said, "Well, think about it. Microsoft pushes hard to acquire Bethesda and Activision. The FTC and the CMA warned that they would increase prices significantly and there would be mass layoffs if they were allowed to acquire them. Microsoft said, "Nuh-uh." Then it went through and those exact things happened over and over again, by the way, multiple times. But here's another one. Here's another one. IGN posts Microsoft's recent price increases on console software and Xbox Game Pass fly in the face of the player first decisions that Xbox had continually made since Phil Spencer took over the Xbox business. The Xbox generation will be remembered for one thing: greed. So I quote tweeted this and I said Microsoft was always planning on trying to extract as much money from their customers as possible, but they did not have the player base numbers wise. So they took the best deal approach to get them in the door first. But once they realized that even that wasn't working, they said screw it, bought up publishers, and are now overtly pursuing higher profit margins. People forget that they're talking about a $3.8 trillion corporation when they're talking about the Xbox brand. How do you think Microsoft became worth that much? By losing money and eating costs for decades at a time. This person replies by saying, same goes with Sony that you continue to glaze daily. And it's like, I'm glad you brought that up because I responded by saying the difference is Sony flat out told me and everyone else that we want $70 for our video games because we believe it's worth it because putting day one games on PlayStation Plus is not sustainable for them. And you guys were here for all of this, man. You guys were fucking here for all of this, where it's like we're going to shame people for buying games. We're going to shame people for, God forbid, paying full price for a AAA video game. We're going to shame everybody who doesn't get on the Game Pass bandwagon. And you know what? God forbid you hear what Sony says and you actually say, I think that makes sense. When Sony tells you it's not sustainable to drop AAA video games day one into subscription services, considering how much they cost to make. If we want to continue to hit a certain quality bar and deliver that year in and year out, we can't just drop it in the PS Plus without substantially raising the price of PlayStation Plus to a ridiculous degree. Plus, people buy our games, so why would we do that anyway? There's a spoken agreement between Nintendo and their fans, between Sony and their fans, between even Valve and their fans. And that is, if we give you quality titles, you will pay for them. You will buy them. And the response that they've gotten every single year for as long as these brands have been around is yes, we will. Indeed, that is how this has always worked. This is why I've had such an axe to grind with the people who have just spent years trying to convince everybody that no, that's just wrong, man. It really does kind of go into the exclusive argument, doesn't it? To a degree anyway, right? Where it's like, who was it that decided exclusives were bad? Who? Who was it? I'm curious. What was it, Nintendo? Wait, no. It wasn't Nintendo. Nintendo, they've always done great with exclusives. In fact, Nintendo sells more copies of their exclusives than any other publisher that does exclusives. So it wasn't Nintendo. Was it Sony? I don't think it was Sony, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sony's been putting their games on PC after certain periods of time, and they say we'll put our live service games in other places. But no, we still have exclusives. We still use these games to entice people for our ecosystem and our hardware. Oh, wait, that's right. It was Microsoft. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was the company that couldn't sell their games that wanted you to believe that exclusives are just the worst thing in the world. And what happens after that? Once Microsoft signals, guys, exclusives are no longer good, you get all the minions. And then that's their talking point. Day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out. Yeah, exclusives are anti-consumer and shitty now, bro. Didn't you get the memo? And you know what? I try to maybe I'll try to see it the other way. But it's just like, dude, I'm fucking done with Microsoft. I'm done with Microsoft. I'm done with Xbox. I'm done with their fucking toxic fans. Not the normal ones, Not those ones. Not if you're normal, I'm not talking about you. You know who you are. I'm done. I've been done for a long fucking time. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if next week Phil Spencer's going to fucking come out, and put on a whole hour long high production value fucking stream, stroking the fan base saying, "Don't worry guys, it's not what it looks like, I promise." Gaslighting the shit out of people like me. It's over. It's fucking over. It's been over. And I'm happy to see that the worst types of fucking people that exist in this space, the worst types of people that have done nothing but shit it up, sling shit everywhere, bro, all over the place, purposely throw it right at the fan in an effort to disorient everybody, in an effort to convince everybody that, oh, you're all fucking wrong and we're right. Bullshit. Bullshit. You got your head lodged so far up the company, uh, the $3.8 trillion company's ass, that you now believe it yourself. It's a level of cognitive dissonance that I've never seen before in this space. And I'm just so glad that even Microsoft is tired of it. They're like, you know what? We don't even care anymore, bro. We don't even care anymore. Fuck it. We want to be involved with AI. We want high profit margin games. That's what we want. That's right. We want to be a third party publisher because that's how we'll make the most money. And we don't want to fucking make hardware anymore because why? What's even the point? Nobody buys our hardware. We're done. And you know what? Game Pass, we tried. God knows we tried, but you know what? Even putting Call of Duty on Game Pass didn't do it. So you know what? We're not giving you the best deal anymore. Now you're going to pay for it. God knows I've had to deal with this shit for the past 3 years where it's like, whatever, man. There's a reason why you don't see Sony or Nintendo floundering like this. Or even Valve for that. Because even though Valve is a little bit different because they're private, it's hard to compare because it's a privately owned company, but you don't see Valve doing this shit either. Valve knows how to run a profitable storefront and a profitable platform. I just hope people wake the fuck up at this point and realize that Microsoft doesn't belong in gaming, dude, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They never have and they never will. And you know what? I'll admit, I fell for it a while ago where it's like I bought into the 360 era and it was good. But when I look at it now, it's more than obvious that you guys had no clue what you were doing. You just said, you know what? We're Microsoft. We're going to throw a bunch of money into this. And we don't want to see Sony have the monopoly. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to see Sony have a monopoly either. I don't want to see a monopoly at all. And it is concerning to me. There is a longer term concern of what's going to happen to PlayStation if Microsoft is truly out of the equation and out of the picture. There is a concern there. I'm not going to pretend there isn't. But I'll tell you what, man, the concern of what Microsoft is going to do being a $3.8 trillion corporation, starting to throw their money around in this industry, the concern has been here for the last like 6 years once Microsoft actually decided to get involved, but especially the last 2 years when they got involved with ABK. That's the greater concern. And make no mistake, Microsoft is absolutely banking on Sony and Nintendo following their lead, where it's like, fuck them. Fuck them. Who cares? Come on. Look, we're the company that's worth 3.8 trillion. We're going to help rise you up, raise you up. Nintendo, Sony, you're much smaller than us in terms of market value. We can bring you up. We know what we're doing. And it's like I tell people, keep in mind, I'm not saying you should be cheering on billion-dollar corporations. I'm not saying you should cheer on any corporation in this manner. But what I am going to say is that if you are the one cheering on a $3.8 trillion corporation, you better be prepared to fucking, again, exist with your head all the way up their ass. Because that's the only way they're going to be okay. That's the only way they're going to allow it. That's the only way you're going to be able to. And you know what? It's why I do believe that shit that I read earlier. I do believe that shit. Because it just makes too much sense, doesn't it? How do you fuck up this bad? How do you fuck up this bad for this many years, dude? It's been well over 10 years at this point. Well, you know what? It sounds like when you're in your office celebrating with a drink because Jim Ryan got promoted. Little did you know, you're celebrating your own fucking doom, bro. Like Jim Ryan's out here, he's gonna clap you, motherfuckers. That's exactly what he did. Don't get me wrong, Jim Ryan, not perfect, said some dumb things, made some mistakes, but goddamn, that guy came out and he's like, I'm gonna fucking show you how it's done. And he did. He fucking did. Look at where PlayStation is now, man. I, he fucked up with the live service, and he did get lucky with that one. But the reality is, he had a base understanding that what do you do? Get the show commitment to the console. That's what you do. Show commitment to the console because that's what's got you to where you are. Show that commitment and actually let it be real. Have games that get people genuinely excited. Have exclusives that get people excited. You can do your live service shit. You know, there were fuck ups. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's all sunshine and rainbows. It wasn't. It still isn't. Sony still got work to do, man. And I'm absolutely going to continue to hold their feet to the fire as best I can, especially if Microsoft's gone. But goddamn, dude, this future of gaming that was just mapped out and telegraphed by Sneakers SO, fuck that. Like it almost ignites a newfound hatred for Xbox for me, where it's like I've got to a point where I'm like I don't even think I care anymore. Whatever, bro. Do your Game Pass thing. Do your own thing, Microsoft. Whatever. But now it's clear that they're like, well, what if we try to like usher in a new age of gaming, a new like cloud based? I'm gonna give them the same response I gave Google Stadia. Like you can fuck all the way off. That's what you can do. You can die because that's the worst shit I've ever heard. You're here to ruin gaming, not save it. Certainly not help it. You know. And if that's the direction they're going in, dude, so let it be known. I do hope MRPD, we're going to be talking about that probably in tomorrow's stream. I just want it to be known that I do hope this upcoming week, I hope that we get a Xbox podcast emergency, whatever 2.0, and they're out here and like, don't worry, we're still making consoles. I chose violence today. You know, I am going to choose violence because you know what I'm realizing about these people, bro, is you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I tried being reasonable. Like I tried just being normal, so to speak, right? Like just totally normal. And they're just responding to me with snark and bullshit. Like, fuck you guys. Like, you get what you deserve, bro. Like, this is what you wanted. This is what you cheered on. I tried to fucking warn people when you see some of the worst grifters in this industry, not even in this industry, just generally speaking, some of the worst fucking grifters who will literally go to anything. They'll suck on anything you give them, right? As long as it's the flavor of the day. Once they start, working their way up, and you're like, well, what are they talking? And you see what they're talking about and what they're clinging on to. It's like, oh my god, oh, like what is this? What are you showing me? Like what the fuck is this? I don't know, man. It's a call. It's a caffeine, man. I drank too much coffee too fast. Yeah, where is Rich Rod, bro? Like every time this guy he misses the violent streams, the ones where he'll thrive. And then it'll be like 2 days later, everything's chill, everything's calm, and he'll be like, yo, I got like 3 new songs for you, man. Every time, every single time, like clockwork. Now, I will be talking extensively about Yote. I was going to today, but I just decided this will be the topic of discussion for today's stream. I want to separate my discussion about Yote. I want to separate it from this. I don't want to cram those. I mean, they're just too. It deserves its own stream. Be the bigger man. It's not worth it. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll have my crash outs, I suppose, from time to time, like I just did. But I just want it to be known. I just want it to be known. And I know a lot of you guys know it's been years. It's been literally years where it's like I'm out here covering this stuff, being gaslit to oblivion, you guys being gaslit to oblivion, many other people being gaslit to oblivion. And I'm not even here to tell people you shouldn't I'm not going to tell people how they should spend their money. I'm not going to tell them what they should or shouldn't support. I'm just here to say that I hope people are waking up and realizing, you know, I hope people are waking up and realizing that like a lot of this has just been smoke and mirrors. And a lot of people fell for hook, line, and sinker. And it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. I'm not here to tell you PlayStation's better. I'm not here to tell you you should come to PlayStation instead. I'm just here to tell you, man, like the way things have been is the way they're likely going to remain because it's very simple logic. If the company produces a product that people like, that people deem worth it, worth an investment, worth buying into, they'll do it. If they produce a video game that seems worth the asking price, they'll buy it. It's always ever been that simple. It's always ever, and it will always ever be that simple. You could try to twist it into 10 different things, but you'll never avoid that. You'll never be able to avoid that reality where you have to make something that people want. You have to make something that people want. Oh, Gaming Survivor, what is this, bro? Oh no. Xbox's lament. Maybe we'll save it. We'll say Gaming Survivor. I have it up. We'll play it in a little bit. Oh man, Gaming Survivor's like, you know what? I'll take Rich Rod's place today. Easy E, you're saying I finally started Death Stranding 2 after finally beating the first one, and I think it's the game of the gen. Kojima is a genius. Thoughts? I don't know if I could say it's game of the generation. I'd have to really put some more thought into that. It might be. It might be actually. I didn't really think about that, Easy E, but it's easily my game of the year. Um, Death Stranding 2 is an incredible experience. The first game was an incredible experience, but something about Death Stranding 2, it really. I did a whole spoiler cast on it. I don't know if you want to check that out, Easy, when we're done here, but I had a lot to say about it, and the game definitely evoked certain feelings out of me that I'm like, damn, okay. I was expecting a good game. I didn't think it would be my game of the year. I got to be honest, but it's an incredible experience. I definitely recommend it to people. So Easy, I'm glad you're getting into the sequel, man. Well, actually, hold on. Just to be clear, Easy E, you're saying you think Death Stranding 2 is game of the generation, right? Because you're saying you just finished the first game. I just want to make sure. Are you talking about the first game? The first game was really good too. I do think the second one's better though, ultimately. Irfan, you have something to say about Yote? You'll say it at the end of the stream. All right. Whiskey, you're saying I feel like one of the few members that is not a Kojima fan. No, I mean maybe. I don't know. I've definitely come across people on the channel that are not big Kojima fans. For sure, I've come across that. Um, I think it's fine. I don't think everybody has to like Kojima. How dare you, Whiskey Gaming? How dare you? Um, all right. Yo, I love how people are really trying to clown on me because Tom Warren pointed out that I named the wrong person, or because I put something out there that I deleted because yes, I was misinformed. Whatever, bro. I guess that's what they're gonna do. See, this is what I love. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about, guys. I fell for it. I did it again. I did it again. This is the manipulation. This is the manipulation, bro. Meanwhile, your source is a random post on an online forum. Like, I shouldn't have deleted the tweet. Well, no, I deleted it because I literally was misinformed. I didn't realize that the person that I had named was apparently the either it's just totally untrue that anything has changed Xbox leadership wise, or I just was very there's a mix up in being who is actually taking some kind of place or making decisions for Xbox. But that's the thing, man. Like they're gonna use me as the scapegoat now. They're gonna use me as a way. Let's focus on the fact that MBG deleted this tweet rather than what's actually going on here. Mm-hmm. Whatever's easier for them, man. Whatever's easier. It is what it is, I suppose. Um, yeah, I guess they're gonna let this just kind of simmer for a while. They'll probably hope it cools down soon. If I had to guess, if I had to guess. All right. No, it was Tom Warren, not Tom Henderson. No. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, Easy. It did say it was a rumor, but here's what's weird about it though is like I didn't just get it. Now, to be fair, I think the mistake I made was I saw it was Tim Dog who said it, and Tim Dog's he's been going crazy with the tweets. He's been like going off, or talking a lot about it, and I don't know much about Tim Dog. I don't follow him. Um, People have told me that apparently I don't know, he has some kind of inside knowledge or sources. He was See, what was interesting to me is he said a couple days ago, this is what made me pay attention to him. He said like 3 or 4 days ago, he said there's going to be some really interesting Xbox news coming up soon. Like he was like saying like something's coming up. Um so like be on the lookout for it. And then this happens. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like I don't know how much but he's taking this approach where he's like he doesn't want to share everything. From my understanding, not understanding, my guess, the way he's framing it, he's making it sound like he is talking to somebody, but they're like, don't like Microsoft's gonna have a big PR thing they're gonna do. And he's just gonna leave it to that. Like they'll do it. They'll come out. I don't know. I just don't know what it's gonna take at this point, man. It's probably a lost cause. It's done. Yeah, it's done, bro. It's done, overdone. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Um, if this does actually go down the way it's being reported it's going to go down, if it actually goes down like, you know, Microsoft comes out and they deliver the bad news and it's like we're exiting the console space. If this is how it goes down, we are going to have to pay close attention to what Sony does next. Because that's going to be big news for Sony. Absolutely. Like, you know, so this will be the second time Sony PlayStation watches a competitor uh exit the market. You know what I mean? Like just completely like we're bowing out, we're done. And I do want to believe that Sony learned a valuable lesson at the beginning of the PS3 generation. But there's always the risk. There's completely new leadership in there. Sony is still very corporate. Um but we'll see. We'll see what happens. My hope is that Sony will just remains, keep a steady pace. That's my hope is they've been doing good. They don't have to put, the pedal to the metal and be like, now we're going to price gouge everybody. Um, because Sony should know by this point. Like even if you don't have a direct competitor ready to kick you off the top, somebody can get you. Somebody can sideswipe you out of nowhere. It can happen when you least expect it. So we will see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting week coming up. Certainly. Oh, you think Sony's already in the know? It's why they gave them Helldivers 2 as a parting gift. I mean, you do have to wonder how long stuff like this has been kind of brewing. I mean, it seems to me like these problems with Microsoft have been brewing for, I don't know, at least like 2 years, maybe a year and a half or so. Pretty much since the Bethesda acquisition. Ever since they ever since they acquired Bethesda, it really just kind of seemed like they were trying to figure out like, all right, how do we navigate this now? And there was just a lot of we don't know. We don't know. We'll just try different shit, see what happens. A lot of pro Xbox YouTubers used to be at launches, yacht parties, etc., with Microsoft executives. After Tim Dog, Microsoft dialed it down a bit. Yeah, I mean, I was covering Xbox around that time too, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's kind of cool to a degree. Like, it's like, oh yeah, treat your fans good, but I don't know, man. I still see these pictures come out and stuff, and I'm like, I don't. Mm. Tell you what, if Herman Holst invited me over to his yacht party, I'd be like, I'm good, bro. I'm good, Herman. No offense. I'm good. Can Sony pay Microsoft to make Halo a PlayStation 5 exclusive? I don't think that would happen, no. Depends on how much they're willing to pay. $1 billion. What's your take on the bots that are saying the future is cloud and this is a genius move by Microsoft? I think I think their brains are fucking fried, dude. Like that's my genuine take on it. Where it's like, what do you talk like? Why would you want that? Like, okay, if you want to say that that is the future and seem like you're so smart because it's like I'm 20 years okay, sure, whatever. But if it's like if you're celebrating it as a fan, like this is good, like you're out of your fucking mind. Like you're out of your mind, dude. Ryan, that's crazy. Do I think the industry has space for three consoles once Xbox goes the Stadia route? Going forward, will it just be Nintendo and Sony? Yeah, I don't know. That is a tough one, man. Uh, I don't think I can say with any level of confidence that there is any more room, unfortunately. While I do think that the console market is still viable, I think it's at a point where it's only viable for those who are established in it. And I think that there was like a filter that just came up for the console market where like one of these three is getting filtered out. If you think about it, it's always kind of been this way, right? It's nothing new. Um, Nintendo almost got filtered out. Sega did get filtered out. Nintendo almost got filtered out. Sony almost got filtered out. Now Microsoft is seemingly getting filtered out. It seems like there's always been a kind of fight for two spots essentially. Like there can only be two. And and this is why I don't really count Valve because they're kind of separate and they don't well, what's interesting is apparently Valve is going to make a console. So, I don't know. Let's see what happens there. Let's see what happens there. Um, I did forget that up until just now that yeah, they're seemingly going to make a console. So that's been rumored for some time, by the way. Okay, let's see. Are there any updates? As of right now, not much. A Valve branded PC or an actual console? I'm not sure, Brian. Um, I mean, it seems like it's going to be kind of more positioned as a console. I think, like that's my understanding of it, but I I'm not sure. The last time Valve tried to do this was with the Steam machines, and that was a failure. But it was because they spread it too thin. This is going to, I think, be the opposite of that, where it's more like the Steam Deck, where it's like a singular piece of hardware. The question is how I don't know how like the demand, how high of a demand there will actually be for this hardware. Uh, I don't know what the power factor of it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to like compete with a PS6 or if it's going to compete more so with the PS5. Um, I think I personally don't think it's going to do well, and the reason I think that is because I do think that the line has been drawn in the sand very clearly and distinctly. Where it's like at this point in time, and this is exactly why Microsoft's probably, I'll say probably, but I think this is why we're hearing about this. Like, why would Microsoft cancel their console, bro? I think it's because the line is drawn where it's like you're either on PC or you're on console, and they're two different things. I don't think you're going to see many PC players that say, I want to buy a Steam console. And the reason for that is because they're going to say, I already have my PC, and my PC has more versatility than that box they're trying to sell me. But that box is basically doing the same thing that my PC already does. It's the same. Like what I'm trying to say is, I think PC players will not buy a Valve console for the same reason they don't buy a PlayStation console or an Xbox console, because it's like I can already do that here on my PC. I think the reason why the the Steam Deck did well is because that is different in the sense that it offers portability. That does exist in a form of a laptop, of course, but I just think we're at this point where, like, yeah, if you offer somebody like a really portable form factor handheld, no matter what it's for, I think you might have an audience, and even if it's a niche audience, considering that. Like, yeah, that's different. That's different enough. I like that. Um, Carlos, yeah, I'm gonna do that one day. One day, my collection gets big enough. Steam's console was rumored to be canceled. When was this? I didn't hear anything about that. Let me see. I see something on Reddit from a month ago. So apparently, Steam is making a new console. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't come across anything that says that the Steam console was getting canceled. Do you think the console's the next Steam Deck? It will dock and become a console. Oh, so you think it's gonna be like a hybrid, like the Switch? MacTube, you're saying MBG, the idea of putting ads in video games is literally the worst idea I've ever heard. It's unthinkable and a death blow to your own business. Well, this is why, dude, this is why I'm saying, like, I just think Microsoft they don't give a fuck anymore, man. There was always like a barrier, so to speak, where like Microsoft corporate was always separate from the leadership of Xbox. And that's because the Xbox brand was treated as like a little side project. But once big amounts of money, large investments got involved with Bethesda, with ABK, that immediately changed. Now, Microsoft has become, or gaming has seemingly become a core pillar for the Microsoft business in its entirety. And when I tell you that that's going, like, you are going to get the most dystopian, awful shit, you know? Um, It's why I was like, I mean, it's again, man, it's why I don't really care that Sony's stock value is going up. Like, I'm not worried about that, man. Like good for them, I guess, but I'm not really interested in seeing Sony go from valued at 180 billion to 200 billion. I understand why they are from their perspective, but I'm just more worried about the health of their gaming business and how that's being run. Um, Microsoft is just on another level where they're worth again 3.8 trillion. They're trying to get to 4 trillion. It's just ludicrous. It's like, what does that even mean? And yeah, they're gonna do the worst shit. They're gonna do whatever needs to be done to move that needle. That's why Satya Nadella, you know, he doesn't give a shit, dude. Like I tried to warn people. I tried to warn people, man. Like I really did. And the worst thing about all this, I'm sorry I sound like a broken record, but the worst thing about all this is just seeing that there's so many people, were so many people that I don't know, man. They just believed that for some reason Microsoft was gonna be different, and it's like, like why would you think that, or be better? It's like, okay, I can understand that notion, like you want them to be better, but it's like, what are you seeing that I'm not? Because I'm looking at the whole picture here. Like Microsoft is as high level corporate as it gets. End stage capitalism level of corporate dystopia here, man. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? What are you really rooting for here? Man, this thing sucks. They were blinded by Game Pass MBG. I mean, I don't know. I don't blame anybody for taking advantage of it while it was a thing, but I don't know. I just think a lot of I just think a lot of us, and even still now, I think a lot of us were getting clowned on unfairly. I'll be honest. I think I think there's a lot of people that are potentially about to be proven right, you know? I think there's a lot of people that are potentially about to be proven wrong. And I kind of had this fear. Um I kind of had this fear, I guess, that somebody mentioned earlier, not that long ago, but they were like, "What are your thoughts on the fans that are cheering us on, saying that this is a good thing?" I have this level of fear that's like, this can't happen, right, guys? Like, right? Like if this actually is where what's about to go down, it's like a Scooby Doo moment, right, where they're pulling the mask off, right? Surely we're not just going to see the same people somehow still have any level of relevance and continue to just say these things, right? Like it's over. Um, More than anything, that's what I'm interested in finding out, because it's like I said, man, I'm not like I would say the number one thing, even above that, is I want to know if Microsoft is actually canceling their hardware. That's the number one thing. But right below that, like right there alongside it, I should say, is I want to know if these narratives are finally done, because they need to be. They need to be. They should have been a long time ago, and it is not right to see, it's just not right, man. When you see Phil Spencer come out and say we're not going to grow the industry by selling a console for $1,000, we're selling, hardware for $1,000. And you get the people, the same groups who are like, yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, Phil. And then literally like a couple years later, Microsoft comes out and like, here's $1,000 Xbox hardware device, not even made by us. It's got to end sometime. I'm not talking about the Xbox brand. I'm talking about like the people who have went full blown defense mode and full blown shill mode, where it's like, guys, I know that I've become like I knew like in the past or maybe over the past couple of years, it's like I've been like like public enemy number one to the bots or whatever, like your bad takes, and it's like, dude, literally almost everything I've said, and I'm sorry, I know it sounds like I'm trying to take a victory lap. It's not so much about that, but it's just the fact that nobody else is going to vouch for me, maybe except some of you guys. So I have to do it for myself because nobody else is going to do it, man. God knows they'll pull up every receipt, right, for the dumbest shit that like it's not even relevant to the conversation. They'll have all those receipts, but I was pretty much right about every single thing I said about Game Pass, about the direction Microsoft is going in, about their console, even about their games to a large degree. And it's not about being right because who cares? I've been right about a lot of things. I've been wrong about a lot of things. It's about the damage that those fucks have done to people like me and many others out there because they didn't like what I had to say. They didn't like what I had to say. They disagreed with it, and they had a problem with it. They still do. Even right now, they have a problem with what I'm saying because all they can't. The only thing they're focused on is MBG can't be right. Because they've put themselves at odds with me. They did this, by the way, not me. I never went after anybody. Like not I was never the first person to ever go after somebody. I was always just in my own fucking lane. But they put themselves at odds against me so that they could, you know, clip and make content and all this shit, right? And now when it turns out that I don't know, man, it seems like a lot of what he said was right. Well, now they're probably panicking. We're like, "Oh, fuck. Shit." Like Devil Shooter, bro, I'm probably going to be emailing you soon. I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm assuming Devil Shooter's still here, and I'm like, dude, I'm thinking about just kind of combing through all my content over the past 2 or 3 years and just seeing, you know, what kind of clips we could come up with, because that's what I realized, dude. The people who have been spinning these bullshit narratives, they comb through every moment of my content, which I'm flattered. I'm flattered. The fact that, I mean, they even pay that close attention, I appreciate the viewership. But the problem is that they do it and they cherry pick. And I know that at a moment like this, they won't even think about going back. They'll have clips from years ago regarding other shit, but any of the things that it's like I could be right about, they don't. And I don't want to play that. I really, really don't want to play that game. I don't, because to me, that game is foolish. That game is foolish. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of energy. And only people who really don't have anything of consequence to say need to play that game, seemingly. But man, it is difficult. I have to admit, it is difficult to see what's happening and not really think about going back and just again vouching for myself a little bit, not going on the attack, but just you know but it's tough though. It's tough because I don't want it to be perceived the wrong way. I know some people will perceive it as like, oh, you're being arrogant or whatever. It's not about it's more about just sending a message to the people that won't that the people that dwell in that space but refuse to do it. They refuse to do it. You know what I'm saying? And they're banking on me not doing it myself. And they're right. They're right. They bank on me not doing it myself, not because I'm lazy, because if I really wanted to, if I was motivated enough, I would. It's not a matter of effort. It's a matter of like to what end? And that's what I still question. But I don't know, man. Shit's getting hairy out here with with what's going on with Microsoft, man. You think it's perfectly fine for me to be more aggressive with the bots? They've been nothing but disrespectful and delusional towards you this whole gen. It's not right. You're saying they should kiss my ass? Irfin's yelling in the chat, check Reddit. MBG, check Reddit right now. All right, let's see. Microsoft responds to the next gen rumors. Okay, let me see. So this is written up by Jez Corden. Um, Update Microsoft responds. Hold on, there's a lot going on here. Disclaimer, update, October 5th, 2025. Microsoft has provided the following statement, echoing our previous report, quote, "We are actively investing in our first-party consoles and devices designed and engineered and built by Xbox. For more details, the community can revisit our agreement announcement with AMD." Okay, so there we go. Microsoft confirmed. Microsoft confirmed that they're apparently not canceling their console. Hold on, I'm gonna update this here. All right. Is that a You're saying that's a denial? Um well no, the only see all Microsoft said is quote, "We are actively investing in our first party consoles and devices designed, engineered and built by Xbox." That's what they said. So anything else that's being discussed they have not commented on. They have not responded to. Irvin, you are fast, bro. Holy shit. Well, this is good. I was wondering if they were going to respond today because I'm like, dude, this is the thing that threw the community into a fucking spiral last time. And like I said, that was the biggest question I had, man. Like, are they going to keep making hardware and consoles or not? But the question still remains, right? If the reports of hardware possibly being canceled are false, or Microsoft is still committed to making some kind of hardware, um, they specifically say built by Xbox. Are we talking about a Windows PC or are we talking about like a console? I'm assuming it's still going to be the PC hybrid. Um, you're saying nobody wants Xbox devices anymore? They just killed Game Pass? I'm seeing if there's anything else. Damn. I mean, well, maybe they'll do more. I don't know if they'll do more or not. I was kind of hoping when Microsoft responded, they were going to respond to more. But yeah, that seems like something that they had to nip in the bud really fast. So it says Digital Foundry has already said that they expect the next Xbox to be a Windows Xbox hybrid that is basically a pre-built PC at a price slightly lower than a pre-built PC. So it will be expensive for a console, but the capabilities are expanded to Windows and Steam accessibility. They also predicted new gen launches every 3 years to build a portfolio of accessibility while removing the performance ceiling that console gaming puts on game development. Huh. Well, who's going to buy this thing then? You know? Like, Xbox gave a statement to an Xbox fanboy. It's not a full denial. There's more. There's more to say. Well, if they're listen, if Microsoft isn't canceling their own device, right? And there is precedence for this, by the way. They were supposed to build their own Xbox handheld, and they canceled that. So it's not like it's without precedence. If they decide to cancel this, or don't decide to cancel it, I mean to say, and they go through with it, then we're looking at the Xbox Magnus APU, which is going to be well beyond $1,000, and it's going to essentially be, yeah, like a pre-built PC. I mean, I don't know. I like that's not really reassuring either. I suppose I don't know. It's not as bad. Like I would take that. I would rather see that than them being like we're literally not making anything. I would rather see that, but I don't know. I have to wonder what this means for sneakers SO because I don't know. He hasn't been wrong, but he did say that he heard it went from being a definitive thing to now they're unsure. Let me see. So Destin Legary saying spoilers, they did not cancel their multi-million, maybe billion-dollar deal with AMD. I know you're shocked. Hmm. Well, all right. I guess at this point we'll just have to see what else lies ahead then, because I don't know, man. Sneakers SO. He says more. He says mass layoffs are coming in Q1 26. He says that the Call of Duty Game Pass Gambit is not working. He says that Microsoft is trying to transition to the cloud and make that where the Xbox platform lives. He said that we basically had one thing really kind of answered here. And that is he says the concrete plans for actual Microsoft hardware went from being definitive to up in the air. So Microsoft seemingly did respond to that and they said, "No, we are still making Xbox hardware internally, or at least something internally." Let me see. What's really weird here, though, and I wonder if we'll get more insight into this. He was saying that whatever this console was going to be was meant to target 2026, but that's not happening. I really wonder what's up with that situation. He says to sum it up, the future of Xbox is software publishing, and then he mentions more retailers are not going to sell Xbox anymore. Well, isn't this similar to just 4 games? Microsoft fanboys came out when they announced just 4 games and bought into the PR only. Well, yeah, dude, it's the Microsoft playbook. Like now you're gonna see the same people be like, "Told you Xbox wasn't canceled." Like, okay, bro, whatever you say. Go hype it. Um, it this is it's yeah. I mean, part of it is manipulating they have to. Like Microsoft has to. Like they have to manipulate it like this because the only alternative is they just come out and say, "Yeah, fuck you guys." Like they're not going to do that. Um but yeah, this is I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not surprising ultimately. The one thing that was surprising to me was reading that they were actually going to cancel their own hardware. That was shocking because I'm like, well, damn, dude, like that's a complete exit. Um, that is a Sega move, like a literal Sega move. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you'll just continue to kind of see. I feel like this gave me my answer, to be honest. Rumors were swirling that Xbox is going to kill its hardware ecosystem. It's not true for now, but it easily could have been true, given how nonsensically Xbox acts lately. Windows Central saying that Xbox is acting nonsensically. Dude, Microsoft PR is funny, man. Microsoft PR is funny. I love the way they operate. If the Xbox is $1,000, are we expecting an $800 PS6? I mean, there's been speculation of that. There's absolutely been speculation of that, dude, but I don't know. I If Sony comes out with an $800 PS6, it's over. Like I don't think they're going to do that. That'd be stupid. Like just flat out that would be dumb. I don't even know why they would bother. Don't rain on our parade, MBG. Xbox hardware is dead. Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be weird, man. It really is. Cuz like if it's true that more retailers are going to announce they're not selling Xbox anymore, you see the pricing of the current Xbox consoles, you see that Game Pass went up in price. You're going to see like this hardcore subsect of Xbox fanboys. They're going to buy this high-end PC, I suppose, from Microsoft, and it's just a PC, with an Xbox logo on it. And they're going to I wonder like I just get this feeling like they're gonna do what they're doing with the ROG Ally X, where it's like, bro, like you're hyped for a handheld PC. That's not like I'm seeing the people like it is an Xbox. It is an Xbox. Like no, it's fucking not. What are you smoking? Like that would be like if Sony tried to sell me a PlayStation device that ran Windows. Like that's not a fucking PlayStation, dude. It's a window. It's a PC. It's a Windows PC. Like you can put as many PlayStation logos on it as you want. It's a Windows PC. And I just think that this is what you're going to see. And I think it's going to be just as strange with um, the console itself or the home hardware. It's going to be maybe even stranger because I don't know. Like you're going to see that they're going to be like, this is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. It's like, okay. Like, I mean, you bought a PC. That's what you bought. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be fascinating. I'm glad there's something though, because man, like it was gonna be kind of spooky. I'm not gonna lie. If come 2027, you just have PlayStation, and it's like, where's Xbox, bro? Like, where's Microsoft? And they're just nowhere to be found. It's just like they're literally launching a new game on PlayStation. That it would be so fucking weird to see that because it's like Mm, like, where is the competition here? But I don't know. Like that's the thing, man. That's what I still have this giant question mark where it's like, all right, so you're not canceling the hardware, but what is this hardware? Because everything, and I've been talking about it for months now. Like, what is this hard? Is it really just a PC? Because if it's just a high end PC, it may as well not be competition. Because high end PCs are already out there, and Sony puts their games on them. Because they're not in competition with them. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I'm glad we got that response from Microsoft because man, that was gonna linger. I thought that was gonna linger at least until like the middle of this week, but they responded right away. And I guess they kind of had to, you know. I even saw this being posted on the freaking on the PS5 subreddit, man. On the PS5 subreddit, it says Microsoft is on the path to become a full third-party publisher where they release everything everywhere. As more retail stores pull Xbox consoles from their shelves, the future of the new Xbox hardware is up in the air and may not happen despite announcements. The top reply is this is what happens when you change your vision every 2 to 3 years. Microsoft leadership for Xbox has been awful. I'm in New Zealand and our EB stores have pulled Xbox off the shelves. Somebody says, as a PlayStation gamer, I definitely want Microsoft to have its own console. Competition is necessary, and we as users benefit from it. Pretty sure PlayStation wouldn't be what it is today without Microsoft or Nintendo. I can agree with that. Somebody says a completely uncontested PlayStation would be disastrous, and anybody celebrating Xbox dying as a console war win is either 12 or 35 and has a bunk bed in their parents' basement, really hoping Steam penetrates the console market or at least partners with companies that create Steam consoles. Well, I think what needs to be understood here, because you see so many of these reactions of like, and it's understandable, like, what would happen with Sony? Oh, that's your post, Irfan? Nice, bro. Was it? Hold on, I missed it. Let me go back to it. I think yeah, I think what people also need to kind of keep in mind to a degree anyway is that you know, if Microsoft just because Microsoft says they're not exiting the console space doesn't mean that there won't be competition. And that's I guess that's why Microsoft responding to this does kind of change. I don't want to say everything, but it changes the energy and the feeling of the discussion completely because it's like we're right back to where we were then. Where we were prior to the rumor from Sneakers SO, where we were prior to that was so is this actually going to matter or not? Like, is this actually going to be competition? Is anybody actually going to give a shit? Is anybody actually going to buy this? People would say no. Some people would say yeah. Most people would say no. But when we hear that they're canceling it, that is the answer. Like, that is the definitive answer. Like, oh shit, okay, now we're going to see a future where Microsoft goes all cloud, no hardware, Game Pass prices go up, and now Sony launches a PlayStation 6 with nothing else in proximity except the Switch 2, which by that point will be years old, you know? Sorry, them answering it, we're basically right back in the same spot, which is okay, so you guys didn't cancel it. It's still happening. Is it going to matter? Like, I don't know. I guess it's just weird reading some responses where it's like people are very concerned at the notion of Microsoft bowing out, but I almost wonder if it's like I just wonder how much of this is an illusion, you know what I'm saying? And I guess it really boils down to Sony's mentality, how Sony views it. I have this suspicion that Sony already views Microsoft as they already bowed out a while ago, bro. We haven't been viewing Microsoft as competition for like the past 2 years essentially, or year, at least a year and a half. And if that's the case, then we're already seeing a PlayStation with no competition, like an uncontested PlayStation. Um but yeah, I don't know. I guess it's hard to determine. You think PlayStation will have the mass market and the Xbox will carve out a niche with the PC console hybrid? Perhaps. Yeah, maybe the next Xbox could kind of carve out a niche similar to something like the Steam Deck, potentially. PlayStation has had competition from Xbox, the Xbox console in the last two generations, so they barely existed anyway. Or you're saying they haven't? Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, even when you even when you look at the way things are right now, right? Like when you look at the fact that the pricing difference between the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles right now, the pricing difference is already so vast that you could make an argument that there already is no competition just based on that alone. Where Sony has a $500 PlayStation 5, you know, and the Series X is like $150 more, and nobody's buying it. I don't know. I don't know, man. Xbox One was the tipping point. Only fanboys don't see Xbox as competition. That is why they shit their pants when they were going to acquire Activision. Well, no, neutral zone. Microsoft people were shitting their pants at the idea of Microsoft buying Activision because they assumed they were going to be leveraged against Sony and Nintendo. And instead, Microsoft said, no, we're doing the opposite of that. You get what I'm saying? Where it's like people feared the idea of Microsoft leveraging their infinite amount of money to buy up publishers and weaponize those publishers against the competition. Um, they could have done that. They would have lost an insurmountable amount of money if they did that, which is why they didn't do it. Um, I don't know. I don't think people necessarily. I don't think there's any like fear. I mean, Sony had a real reason to be fearful of losing Call of Duty. That's obvious, but let me get this out of here real quick. I have like 100 tabs open. Okay. MBG or Digital Duty, you're saying MBG, there was no concern when Microsoft bought Activision, but now all of a sudden there's concern. Miss me with that BS. Well, I think the concern it came early on from like Jim Ryan being like, "Yeah, they offered us a 3-year contract," and that's like the insinuation, the implication right in front of your face is we're gonna take Call of Duty away 3 years later, and Jim Ryan was like, "Fuck that," you know. Aren't we living in gaming times where events once deemed unthinkable are unfolding, yet we struggle to process them or predict what lies ahead? It's scary. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that. Oh, you're talking about the Xbox fans, digital dude. I think that what's been the biggest struggle for me personally is just seeing how like so many things have happened that I don't know, man. Like I think for a lot of fans, it would have caused like a lot of fans to like flip the table, and they're like, I don't know, they're on the razor's edge, man. It's been very tarnished. I'm gonna be honest. It's been fucking bizarre. I don't even know what to make of it half the time. Like I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. If I'm being like totally honest, about 50% of the time, I feel like I'm in the fucking twilight zone. You know, where like I just see the way people. Maybe I feel that way because like my perception is skewed, but I see so many. I see a lot of opinions thrown my way about Sony, about Play. I mean, I mostly cover PlayStation. Like, of course, people are gonna bust my balls, being like, "Oh, look, I thought you were a PlayStation content creator. This is the exception." We have weeks where we're just talking about PlayStation and games and shit. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It Tarnish. You've been around. A lot of you guys have been around where it gets to a point where it's like, dude, I don't know how much longer I can keep up with this shit. You know, like people think I'm celebrating like Xbox dying or like the Xbox console dying. It's like that's not what I'm celebrating, man. Like you're mistaken. I'm not celebrating the death of another platform or the death of competition or another console that I used to support. By the way, the only thing I'm actually celebrating is the death of specific narratives that make me feel like I'm in the fucking twilight zone. That is the only thing I'm celebrating because I feel as though once those narratives finally die, we can get to a more accurate place, just a better place regarding the entire industry where like we can have more clear cut and less delusional uh conversations, or we don't have to worry about these delusional narratives kind of making their way in constantly. To be honest, like that's the only reason I'm so interested in what's going on here is because I want to see it. That's what I want to see end. And it's this close, dude. Like it's this close, bro, where you can tell. Like you can tell Microsoft is trying so hard to keep this fed, so to speak. This is why I was saying I laugh at Microsoft's PR. I do because it's why I lost it back in February of 2024. I don't expect to win against the PR and marketing machine of a $3.8 trillion corporation. That's an impossible fight to win. But there is this kind of like level of hope that eventually, like they're gonna have a hard time keeping their mask on, bro, and it's gonna happen. And you know why it's gonna happen? Because the difference between me and Microsoft should be obvious. They're a corporation beholden to shareholders. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, like they got to do business, and they got to do business in any way that makes sense in terms of profitability and sustainability. And I'm betting on that. That's the irony. That's the absolute irony of it is I'm betting on that. We're like, of course you will. You have these minions convinced you won't. And this is why I feel like mm, I get too, sometimes I still fall for it, where it's like too quick to, this is the moment. This is but it's a slow burn type situation. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in one swoop. Um, it's again, if you look back to February of 2024 when I reacted to that Xbox podcast with Phil Spencer, I was losing it so badly because I was being played by Microsoft marketing like live. And the reason why I was being played is because they like this shit. It's kind of like psychological warfare, so to speak. Like look at how for the last 12 hours there's been this kind of like, oh shit, oh fuck, oh my god, oh god, it's happening. Oh, I think it's happening. I think they're killing the console. They're pulling the plug on the console. It's happening. And you know, and then you see that like a single sentence statement is made. It doesn't explain anything else that was discussed from a very reliable source. And now it's like, oh, oh my God, thank. Oh, that was so close, man. I thought it was over, and it's like it. Mm, it feels manufactured, is what it feels like. I'm gonna be real. It feels manufactured. It feels like this is the necessary distraction, so to speak, so we can quickly move on from the fact that Game Pass just got the biggest price increase in its history. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, I, mm, I think we're being played like fiddles. I think I'm being played like a fiddle here. Don't forget who fell Spencer follows. Never forget. It's so funny though, dude. Like maybe I'm nah, that maybe I'm just in conspiracy territory. Like truly in conspiracy territory. True what you're saying, those AMD chips can be used for their Azer cloud. True. That's true. That's very true, actually. Come to think of it. They will need those GPU farms. Or, just they'll basically need console racks or APU farms. That's what I mean to say. APU farms. And Neutral Zone, a member for 21 months, says Microsoft will keep making consoles and be third party at the same time. They don't have to sell consoles as much as Sony when they make up with everything else. Um, yeah, well, yeah, but that's going to be taken to the absolute extreme, which I think is kind of a, I don't know if it's a problem, I, but it kind of is in a sense where it's like, turns out, if it turns out whether we made a console or not, it would make no difference. The outcome will be the same. That's kind of what we're looking at, Neutral Zone, and that's what's weird to me. That's what's weird to me. And the idea of them canceling their own console, that is the breaking point for the fan base. I thought Game Pass going up to $30 a month was the breaking point. Apparently not. Apparently not. Um, I'll tell you what though. You would think them putting their games on other consoles is the breaking point. Enhancing them for pro consoles that they don't have is the breaking point. That's not the breaking point. Raising the price of Game Pass, breaking that Game Pass promise in terms of the, you know, keeping the price lower and whatnot. The breaking point seemingly is if we cancel our hardware. If we like, they will lose everybody. Because think about it, like the only people that are truly left, fan wise, are those who are going to buy this hybrid console. And I don't know, man. I was just kind of hoping that if this were to be true, like this will be it finally. Like finally, like this is where even the most die hard Xbox player wakes the fuck up and realizes this is who you've been supporting, man. They don't fucking care. But because they said that no, no, we're still gonna make a console. We're still gonna make this thing, this AMD thing. Um, it's gonna keep going. So I don't know. All of your grifting efforts will have an adverse reaction. Will in the end it'll gain Xbox more subscribers? How am I a grifter, dude? Grifting is like small scale like swindling and shit. Like, bro, I am trust me, if I was a grifter, the most popular thing by far right now would be to shit all over Nintendo. Or if not Nintendo, PlayStation. That like those are the two most, especially Nintendo, dude. Oh my god. Those are the most popular. Dude, if I was a grifter, I wouldn't even be making video game content. If I was a grifter, I'd be out here talking about fucking God knows what, like all these other topics that people are harping on day in and day out. But if you're referring, what I think you might be referring to, you might be referring to me being aggressive towards Xbox for the last like 5 years or 6 years. Um yeah, I've absolutely been aggressive towards Microsoft and Xbox for the past 6 years. Um you know, I'll tell you what these people want, dude. You know what these people want? They want me to just only talk about PlayStation ever, to never even mention Xbox. So they can keep just, I don't know, making fun of my takes, my PlayStation takes. And then when I choose to talk about Xbox, they can say, "Oh, look, see, you're a you're not really a PlayStation content creator. You're talking about Xbox again. Xbox bad. Xbox bad." It's like, again, man, um these these people who claim this stuff, like, they won't show you the other side. They just won't fucking do it. They will never do it. They will never do it. And I've thought many times about doing it myself, but it's like I said, man, it's like, to what end? People have already made up their minds. And if anything, that's what I need to realize. People have made up their fucking minds, bro. Like, there's a hardcore group of Xbox players that, I said this on, like, I think my last stream talking about the Game Pass price increase, where they will literally go down with the ship. Literally. Like, they will stay there until they're sunk at the bottom, drown, right? Um, those are pretty much the ones that are left. And there's a significant push from certain, now some of these people that are willing to do this though, like, they're lower end. Like, they're on the bottom of the rung, dude. The people that are willing to go down with the ship are not the ones you would think. They're not the ones, like, if anything, I have more respect for that. Like, I have respect for the person who's like, I will literally wait until it no longer exists before I leave. I can respect that because it's like, all right, bro, like, you're standing your ground. Okay. Like, you're in it. I get it. I get it. The people I'm referring to are people that, once it becomes unpopular, so to speak, to not, you know, like, stroke Microsoft and everything they're doing. Um, they're gonna pivot. They're gonna pivot like that. And Microsoft knows this. That's the that's the beauty of this. That's why I was saying I find Microsoft's PR funny. Microsoft's PR is very funny. Microsoft knows this. They know that they're walking on eggshells, and these people that I'm referring to, like, when the Game Pass prices increase, they'll tell you how bad it is and how shitty it is, you know. Um, and they'll bitch and they'll moan, but at the end of the day, you know, they're gonna be scanning to see, like, so like, did everybody turn on Xbox yet? Not yet. That's about to be what was gonna happen. Like, that was about to happen, dude, with this report. That's absolutely what was about to happen. It's what was about to happen last year too, and Microsoft keeps stepping in to stop it. They're trying to, in case it's not obvious, they're trying to see how far it can go. Like, how long is it going to take till they don't have to do this shit anymore? And this is why, like, I've tried to explain to people, like, the biggest difference between Sony and Microsoft is, like, Sony's not trying to do that shit, man. Like, Sony, if you don't like what they're doing, they're just like, okay. I love how, bro, Tarnish, you're making me laugh. You're like, so what exactly do you mean when you say stroke Microsoft? I mean, I'm going to need you to elaborate on that a little bit. Asking the real questions here. Remember when Xbox PR was just fanboy fodder? When the head of marketing changed his profile picture to Crash Bandicoot image while doing an X gesture after the Activision Blizzard buyout? Xbox marketing is and always has been a joke. Oh, it's well, that's the thing. See, I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because it's not Xbox marketing and PR anymore, bro. It hasn't been for the last year and a half. Microsoft took over. And I can tell you there's been a major shift. See, Microsoft has a completely different marketing team than Xbox was just left to do their own thing. And Xbox's marketing was always, you're right, it always was a joke. Once Microsoft took over, though, Microsoft doesn't fuck around. Microsoft, you're talking about like the third most valuable corporation on the planet. They are pros. Fuck it. They have some of the best in the business at manipulating headlines, controlling the narratives, and it's all about manipulation of perception. They have been on fucking point for the past year and a half. It may not seem like it, but trust me, man. Um, Trust me. Like we've they've been expert in the way that they've handled it because Microsoft just undid their fucking promise, dude. Like they just gave the biggest backhand to their fan base, and it's still not like it's just going to be business as usual going forward. The negative reaction lasted approximately like 24 hours, and it's already like we're on to the next thing. Here we are, even me today. We're on to the next thing. I do have Game Pass in the title, of course, but it's yeah, it's they have a whole different system, a whole different way of handling their PR now, and they have ever since the ABK deal. The ABK deal basically forced Microsoft to get involved, as the parent company, and ever since that happened, they've just taken a completely different approach. I'm a Yoda. That's cursed, bro. That's cursed. Well, yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens, man. Um, we had one of the questions. MRP, you're saying, boss man, how are you liking Yote better than Tsushima so far? I don't think I can say I like it better. It's on about the same level so far. Um, it's I noticed like I have to put more time into it to get into a better groove.
Hey MBG, just got into the stream. I hope you and your family are fine. Smile. PS, did you decide what to buy from my birthday gift yet? Ha.
Ha. Titus, bro, thank you so much for was that a $20 direct donation? I really appreciate that, buddy. Me and the family are doing well. I appreciate you asking. And again, we did a morning with the missus on Friday. So if you are a channel member, make sure you go check that out. It was a good one. MRPD, I think I saw you asking about that. It was a good one, dude. We had a good time. Um, I decided what I'm gonna get. I think I'm gonna get Battlefield with it, man. I think that's what I decided on because I got Ghost and Battlefield's coming up in just 5 days, and I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed my time with the Battlefield beta. Not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. So I think that's what it's gonna go towards. And again, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the support, Titus. I always appreciate it, bud. You come in here sometimes spontaneously and you drop big support, and I very much appreciate that, bro. Um, yeah, we're gonna be wrapping this up soon, Burko. I definitely don't want to have the Yote conversation today because it's just gonna get muddied by what we discussed. I basically decided I was going to talk about Yote today, but we'll dedicate tomorrow's stream to that. And whatever else might come out for PlayStation, but tomorrow will be dedicated to talking Yote, and I want to get some more time with it. Um, okay, what's up, boss? Irfan, you're saying one after 20 hours of Yote, I can now say that I love the story. It's absolutely captivating, and it has a chance to surpass Tsushima. It all depends on the ending now. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple of story moments. I think that's why I can't really compare it to Tsushima yet. I've been getting super distracted, man. Like I'm just I think I've had like two story moments or three so far. Um, but there's so much side content. Like, and not in a bad way. Just it's very spontaneous. It's like I'm gonna go to this mission destination, but I come across like literally 8 things along the way, and before I know it, it's like, oh, I gotta end this play session. And I made zero progress in the story. So but yeah, we will talk about this tomorrow, guys, for sure. And I want to get, like I said, more. I think I have about 8 or 9 hours into it so far. Oh my god, Tarnish, that's nuts. A humiliation ritual? What? All right. I, I don't know. Wild times, man. Two, you might hit any part of the story in the first hours that someone else won't even reach until the final acts, or vice versa. The story unfolds entirely based on which of the Ote 6 you pursue. That is a massive shift in the way that the story is told. It also means that it's incredibly easy to spoil the game. There's really no way to talk about the story until you finished it. Okay. I'll keep that in mind for tomorrow. I guess it works out that I didn't really do anything with the story yet then. So I'll keep it spoiler free when we discuss it. But yeah, guys, so we passed the 3.5 hour mark. I think this is going to be a good place to wrap it up. I think I pretty much said everything I have to say. Definitely went on some rants and some tirades. But Mom, you're saying Xbox is cooked. Well, before I head out here, guys, I do want to give a big thank you to all the support we got. Don't worry, Tarnish, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have plenty of streams coming up this week. But yeah, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I did put out a video earlier. You can check that out. Um, although that video is probably going to be need to be amended now. Um, yeah, I'm curious to see how the story unfolds, dude. I want to also give a big thank you to anybody who dropped any direct support. We hit 26 members today, thanks to Corey and Hellbound. Uh, they tag teamed it today, so I appreciate it, bro. I was gonna say bro, but I'll say bros. Gotta say bros. And also I want to thank anybody who dropped any super chats or direct donations. I'm only able to do what I do here because you guys make it possible. So I really appreciate the continued support. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but just a reminder, if you have a channel membership, go check out some of the members' content. We did a morning with the misses. You go watch like 2.5 hours of bonus content. And yeah, I think that about does it. I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. So if you guys see Devil Shooter in the comments with those timestamps, show him some love, give him some thanks. I know he really appreciates it. He does a great job. And yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up, guys. The only other thing I'm going to ask is as you're filing out of the stream, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't. And yeah, that's it. So, guys, please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your evening, uh, or night, or afternoon, perhaps, depending on where you are in the world. And that's it. We'll be back here tomorrow with another stream. We should be talking, unless there's something like major that comes out of nowhere, we should be talking some Ghost of Yote. And yeah, that does it, guys. Gears probably not going to play. Chronos, I would like to play at some point. So hopefully, yeah, that's on the backlog right now. But all right, guys, that's it. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, take care, everyone.